The treasure Bosia obtained from that special space contains the soul of the dragon clan. This reminded Lin Moyu of Tian Long's dragon balls, which were also outside the territory and had the aura of dragons. He had to have such an idea. The dragon ball is the most important thing for every dragon clan. The dragon ball contains their power, soul, spells, etc. Without the dragon ball, the dragon clan's power will be greatly reduced, their realm will decline, and even their spells will be lost. Moreover, the importance of each dragon ball is different, and the power contained in it is also different. Maybe this dragon ball is a relatively powerful one, and after so many years, maybe it can evolve something. It would be fun if there was Tian Long's soul inside and self-awareness evolved. Although the rules in the borderland are a bit confusing, they can't stop Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu forcibly opened the space door inside and came to the area where Tian Long was. Tian Long opened his eyes and looked at Lin Moyu. Have you found the dragon ball? Lin Moyu said, it's not that easy. I just found some clues. Tian Long suddenly became energetic. What clue? Lin Moyu told what happened to Bosia and also shared his guess. Tian Long's brows wrinkled on the spot, and the dragon scales were squeezed together, making a clanking sound. After a while, Tian Long spoke again. The kind of thing you said is not impossible. One of the 2 dragon beads outside the territory contains a secret method. The secret method is indeed related to the soul, so there is not a weak soul power in it. This secret method can corrode the soul and is extremely difficult to remove. Even if I fail to retrieve the dragon ball, I will not be able to heal the injuries caused by the secret method. Lin Moyu's eyes lit up. In other words, if you find the dragon ball, you will have the calendar to cure it. Tian Long snorted, that's natural. Do you think I'm just a decoration? Lin Moyu said, okay, I will go there to search. If I find it, I will bring the dragon ball back. You can help me cure him. But this is not within the scope of our transaction. Is there any problem? Tian Long snorted, even if you want to put this matter within the scope of our transactions, I don't agree. How can my transactions be so worthless? Lin Moyu smiled and said, then it's settled. Etc. Just as he was about to leave, Tian Long suddenly called out to Lin Moyu. Tian Long gritted his teeth and groaned, and more than 10 dragon scales fell off at the same time. A dragon's breath spurted out, turning into flames and burning the dragon scales. The dragon scales melted in the dragon's breath and finally formed a round ball. This round ball is 1 size larger than the dragon ball and has a hollow interior. Tian Long said, if it is as you guessed, you can use a trapped dragon ball to hold the dragon ball. Remember not to touch the dragon ball, do you understand? Lin Moyu took the trapped dragon ball and said, of course I understand. If Longzhu really awakens his self-awareness, Longzhu will become extremely dangerous. Especially the dragon clan's secret method contained in it is difficult to cure even in a lifetime. Tian Long also created such a trapped dragon ball for the sake of his own safety. More than a dozen dragon scales fell off at the same time. The guy looked like he was in a little pain just now. I'm going. Put away the trapped dragon ball and open the door to space. Seeing Lin Moyu disappear, Tian Long's eyes became complicated. Dragon ball evolved self-awareness. Don't let me know who did it, otherwise I will definitely peel off your skin and use dragon's breath to roast your soul for millions of years. Tian Long cursed, his eyes full of hatred. The aura of outside the territory hid his face, and Lin Moyu didn't expect that not long after he returned to the territory, he returned to the outside. The location where Bosia encountered the space cave was actually not that far away, only more than 200,000 light-years away from the inner space. Bosia was in the other side realm back then, and 200,000 light-years was enough for him to explore. The probability of the space hole appearing is very low, and the outside world is so vast, so he can encounter it. I don't know if he is lucky or not. The starry sky outside the territory is vast and silent. 200,000 light-years have cut off most of the starlight, and it is almost completely dark here. Lin Moyu has been used to it for so many years outside the territory. He carefully felt the changes in space. Space was not static, but always fluctuating. In Lin Moyu's perception, space is like ripples on the water's surface, rippling round after round. Many changes that have occurred in space will leave traces in the ripples, which will be difficult to erase for a long time. If a space hole had appeared here, he would be able to find traces as long as the time does not exceed 100 years. The benefits of the law of space are reflected at this moment. Coupled with his extremely keen soul, Lin Moyu's perception of space far exceeds that of others. Even the Holy Lord, who also controls the laws of space, is not as good as him. Soon Lin Moyu made a discovery. He found a space crack. This space crack has actually disappeared, leaving only a mark. Just like after a broken mirror is repaired, there will still be traces left. Just find it. Just relying on the mark left by a space crack, it is not possible to tell that this is a hole in space. After all, there are many reasons that can cause space cracks. Lin Moyu has his own way. The law of time begins to surge, and the law of time galaxy emerges, connecting the long river of time. Back in time. As soon as my heart moved, time began to go back. This time backtracking does not take long, and Lin Moyu is extremely relaxed. The law of time found the mark in time and reshowed what happened in this starry sky. Time was turned back 50 years ago, and the space was still calm and nothing happened. 60 years, 70 years, and still nothing happened. Until 87 years ago, the space and time was distorted, and a hole in space suddenly appeared. Time goes back slowly, from being measured in years to being measured in days. Until the hole in space disappeared, Lin Moyu stopped looking back in time. The cave of space appeared 87 years ago and was sold for 100 days. It seems that every time the hole in space appears, it will last for about 100 days, but I don't know how often it will appear. Bai Qiuxia once entered the cave of space, and the cave of space appeared again 87 years ago, which basically shows that the cave of space will indeed appear repeatedly here. It just depends on the interval between occurrences. This is difficult to estimate. It may be a few years, it may be decades, hundreds, or even thousands of years. Lin Moyu started looking for cracks again. He needed more information. The location where the hole in space appears will not be fixed, but it will not deviate too far. Soon, he discovered another space crack millions of kilometers away. Starting to look back in time again, this time the hole in space appeared 67 years ago and still lasted for 100 days. 87 years ago and once 67 years ago. Could it be that the interval is 20 years? Lin Moyu muttered and started looking for space cracks again. 2 million kilometers away, another space crack was found. The mark of this space crack is very thin and almost disappears. Looking back in time, Lin Moyu discovered that the hole in space appeared 97 years ago. At this point, Lin Moyu is basically certain that the hole in space appears once every 10 years and lasts for 100 days. Based on this calculation, in almost 3 years, the hole in space will appear again. He could afford to wait for 3 years. As for where the hole in space will appear, this is not a problem. With his ability to sense space, no change in space within a light year can escape his perception. In that case, let's wait. In 3 years, we can prepare some soul warriors for the blood-devouring puppets. In the soul world, Lin Moyu condenses the soul fire. The leaves of the world fell into the fire of the soul, and began to melt. World leaves are excellent materials for refining weapons, and their grades will change with Lin Moyu's soul. Now that Lin Moyu has the soul of the Supreme Realm, the leaves of the world are already among the best materials in the Holy Realm in terms of grade alone. The leaves of the world melted in the soul fire, turned into liquid, and condensed into a ball with Lin Moyu's intention. Lin Moyu did 2 things at the same time and drew an ancient talisman. The ancient talisman is called the soul-holding talisman, which is used to store the soul calendar. The thing Lin Moyu wants to refine is called soul beads. In ancient times, talisman masters often refined soul beads. Soul beads will store soul power and can be released when needed. Originally, with the World Tree, he did not need to store additional soul power, and he never thought of refining soul beads. But after going back in time again and again, Lin Moyu discovered that it is actually necessary to store the 460 power of the soul. Although the World Tree can replenish soul power, the speed at which it can be replenished has a certain limit. As long as there are enough soul beads, there is almost no limit to the speed at which soul power can be replenished. And the soul beads also have another function, which can provide soul power for the blood-devouring puppet. The process of refining soul balls is not complicated, and for Lin Moyu, it is extremely easy. In just a few minutes, a soul bead was successfully refined. Lin Moyu began to inject soul power into the soul bead, but this process lasted for a full hour. The soul bead can barely be regarded as a holy level magic weapon, and it is a special magic weapon, which is relatively fragile. There is a limit to the speed at which it can absorb and release soul power. It cannot be too fast because it will easily break. Therefore, talisman masters in ancient times would refine a large number of soul beads to prepare for emergencies. Lin Moyu estimated that the soul power that a soul bead can store is almost 1% of his total soul power. In other words, it would take 100 soul beads to be able to match all the soul power in his body. In terms of cost performance, soul beads are indeed not high, which is why they have never thought of refining them before. If the speed is not enough, then use quantity to make up. Lin Moyu thought for a moment and refined another one with his backhand. After refining, he gave it directly to World Tree, allowing World Tree to replenish the soul power of the soul bead. The World Tree is also idle when it is idle. It will not be wasted at all if it is used for this purpose. Lin Moyu is responsible for the refining, and World Tree supplements it, greatly improving the efficiency. The leaves of the world continue to fall, turning into soul bead materials. In 3 years, Lin Moyu has refined so many soul beads that he has lost count. All I know is that there is a huge branch on the World Tree, which has become bare and almost all the leaves have fallen off. 3 years later, a weak space vibration appeared from hundreds of millions of miles away. Lin Moyu caught the change in space immediately, glanced over, and saw the hole in space. Finally come. With a smile on his lips, he took a step forward and bent into the hole of space. The vision was distorted for a while, and then quickly became clear. Waves of strange aura rushed towards his face, which was the unique aura of the Dragon Clan. Even if it is not the world where Tian Long and Dragon Balls evolved, this place is definitely related to the Dragon Clan. Lin Moyu stood in the sky and looked at the world. Towering mountains 1 million meters high, dense forests, and vast rivers rushing from the mountains. Lin Moyu also knew from Bai Qiuxia's description that the world he entered was exactly where Bai Qiuxia had entered. These scenery are not unusual, there are many of them in the big world. What's strange are the trees in the mountains. Those trees look familiar. Lin Moyu looked carefully and found that in fact, every mountain, no matter how high it is, has only one tree. This tree is located on the top of the mountain and is extremely lush. Its leaves hang down like vines and spread across the million-meter-high mountain, creating the illusion of a dense forest. It's Tian Long's tree. This world is also the world of Tian Long's rules. Lin Moyu finally understood that the big tree covering the million-meter-high mountain was very similar to the big tree where Tian Long lived. The situation in this world is also very similar to Tian Long's rule world. At this point, Lin Moyu is 80% sure that this world has indeed evolved from Tian Long's Dragon Ball. I just don't know if Dragon Ball is just too powerful and evolves naturally, or if it imitates and evolves because of the birth of consciousness. If it's the latter, the risk will be much greater. To deal with this evolved world, Lin Moyu has many methods. The skeleton god will appear and fly in all directions. The first step is to explore. No matter how dangerous the world is, the first thing you encounter is the skeleton. Billions of skeleton god generals are enough to force out all kinds of dangers. Bosia could once find a way out here, which shows that the dangers in this world are extremely limited. As long as you pay attention to the secret method of Dragon Ball, there will be no problem. The skeleton god rushed into the mountains and forests without encountering any danger. Those big trees don't seem to be aggressive. The skeleton god general rushed into the river again, still not in danger zero. The water in the river was swift and clear, but there was nothing in it. In the high mountains and dense forests, the skeleton god general searched like a carpet, but found nothing, not even a piece of gravel. This kind of evolved world has a sense of unreality. It belongs to a relatively low-level evolution and is not even as good as the secret realm evolved from some ancient talisman fragments. According to what Senior Bosia said, he found the treasure in the river at that time. Lin Moyu focused his search on Jianghe. The world is not big, and the rivers from beginning to end are only 100,000 kilometers long. The skeleton god descended and covered the entire river very quickly. Only half an hour later, the skeleton god general made a discovery. At the bottom of the river, there is a gem the size of a fist inlaid. The gem emits a faint light, which is obscured by the water and is not obvious. The skeleton god general brought the gem back. This gem was exactly the same as the one Bosia obtained. The gem contains a trace of the dragon soul, which can play a role similar to the dragon soul crystal. It can purify the soul and make the soul purer, thereby making the soul stronger and improving its realm. However, compared to the real dragon soul crystal, the effect of gemstones is still somewhat inferior. In fact, Lin Moyu knows very well that dragon soul crystal is a supreme treasure to other cultivators. But for me, the effect is much worse. My soul is too pure, which greatly weakens the existence of the dragon soul crystal. Lin Moyu held the gem and looked into the distance. According to Senior Bosia, he was attacked shortly after he obtained the gem. The attack appeared suddenly. He had never seen that kind of creature before and couldn't describe it. He didn't know where it came from. That being the case, let's take a look at the expo. Time passed by, and Lin Moyu held the gem in his hand. About an hour later, an invisible vibration suddenly appeared in the space, and all the mountains and forests shook slightly. It is difficult for ordinary practitioners to detect this kind of vibration, but Lin Moyu can clearly feel it. Coming, he whispered, undulating along the space and heading into the distance. On the top of the mountains in the distance, invisible forces are rising, evolving into illusory dragons. These illusory dragons have the appearance of dragons, and are only less than 10 meters in length, very small. They are composed entirely of soul power. They are soul dragons, and their bodies are wrapped in colorful flames. The breath of colorful flames is very familiar to Lin Moyu, and it is exactly the same as the injury in Bai Chu Yuan's soul. It turns out that this is the source of Senior Bosia's injury. The colorful flames carry a strange toxicity and take root in the soul. Although it will not cause fatal damage, it can destroy the integrity of the soul. Once injured, if it cannot be healed, it will be difficult to improve the soul state. And as time goes by, the control over the soul will become weaker and weaker. This kind of injury can be treated, but it is extremely difficult to cure. Even Lin Moyu's power of life and death cannot cure it. This also made Lin Moyu realize that his magic is not omnipotent. Maybe he is omnipotent in the big world, but when facing the power outside the big world, he is somewhat powerless. This Dragon Clan's secret technique seems a bit vicious. Lin Moyu thought of the Eye of Blood in the Black Blood realm. The Eye of Blood can also pollute the soul, which can cause the soul to be damaged and completely turn it into a useless person. At worst, the soul will be annihilated and the body will die on the spot. Although the Dragon Clan's secret method is not fatal, it is actually more poisonous and a form of long-term torture. It's no wonder that Tian Long told him not to come into contact with these flames. Obviously, he also knew the counterweight of his secret method. Lin Moyu found that he was locked, and those illusory dragons locked him. In fact, it is not him who is locked, but the gem in his hand. They will attack the 10 people holding the gems. Then let me see how difficult you are. Lin Moyu smiled slightly, and the skeleton god general swung out his boundless sword energy, sweeping the sky with great force. The illusory divine dragon let out a dragon roar and sprayed out flames to block the sword energy. The sword energy quickly burned and vaporized in the flames, and had already dissipated without even getting close. The light flames vibrated, stirred up the space, formed a soul attack, and fell suddenly. This kind of covering attack is useless no matter how you dodge it. Lin Moyu's soul shook violently, and he instantly felt a burning sensation. Since reaching the Holy Lord, the soul world has been sublimated into the world of rules. At this moment, a little fire appeared outside the world of rules. The fire was burning the world of rules, but it couldn't burn through it. Through the world of rules, Lin Moyu can feel the strangeness of fire. The fire seemed to contain a strange power, which was extremely penetrating. If it were replaced by an ordinary saint, their rules world might not be able to block it. It's a pity that my world of rules is beyond the perfect level, so it is easier to resist this kind of flame. On the mountains, hundreds of illusory dragons sprayed out a large amount of flames, and the flames formed colorful clouds, emitting bursts of dragon roars. The dragon's roar carries a soul attack, but for Lin Moyu, this level of soul attack is like a finger pointing in the breeze, with no effect. Lin Moyu's soul realm has reached the supreme level, and coupled with the protection of the powerful world of rules, it is difficult for even ordinary supreme beings to cause harm to his soul. Seeing that the flames and soul attacks had no effect, the illusory dragon roared again and shot out even more dazzling colorful clouds. They flew into the clouds, roaring with dragons, and a 1,000-meter dragon suddenly appeared in the colorful clouds. The appearance of Tian Long is 89 times similar to Tian Long. It seems that it is really the Dragon Ball of Tian Long. At this moment, Lin Moyu is 90% sure that the one in the world of evolution is Tian Long's Dragon Ball. Thinking of this, Lin Moyu suddenly slapped his head. Why am I so stupid? He suddenly realized that he was so stupid that he chose the far side instead of the near, and left the ready-made tools unused while still making wild guesses on his own. Taking out the dragon-seeking ball, the dragon-seeking ball responded immediately, completely confirming Lin Moyu's guess that the Dragon Ball was really here. Lin Moyu laughed at himself and said, "The so-called wise man will make mistakes every time he thinks about it. This is what he is talking about." While he was thinking, the 1,000-meter dragon was already rushing towards him. With a smile on Lin Moyu's face, the first undead army was dispatched. The White Bone battle formation was instantly formed, and the White Bone Law Galaxy formed the Sea of Stars. Commander No. 1 waved his sword, and boundless waves formed. Bone Chop! A huge wave rose into the sky, transformed into a sword, and struck a sharp blow towards the 1,000-meter dragon. The 1,000-meter-long dragon breathed out dragon breath, and the sky was filled with colorful rays of light. Countless flames fell from the sky, hitting the Sea of Bones like raindrops. The Sea of Bones was shattered by the flames. The Sword of Bones struck the 1,000-meter-long dragon, and the dragon was immediately cut in two. The dragon screamed, its body turned into nothingness, and disappeared. The 1,000-meter dragon is entirely composed of souls. It just so happens that the White Bone Law also attacks souls, so things can defeat things. The dragon seemed to be beheaded, but the rain of light and flames continued, and the Sea of Bones was smashed into waves, constantly twisted and deformed, and extremely unstable. It's no use just killing the dragon, you have to find the Dragon Ball. Lin Moyu's heart is as clear as a mirror, and he knows that the Tian Long is just an appearance. Only by finding the Dragon Ball can the problem be solved from the root. This world evolved from Dragon Ball. No matter how it is hidden, Dragon Ball cannot escape this world. If you don't come out, I'll force you to come out. Lin Moyu felt cruel in his heart, and countless undead souls flew out in an instant. The Skeleton God General, the Death Dragon Knight, and the undead army all attack. The entire world, every corner of the sky and the earth, is filled with legions of the undead. The undead army launched an indiscriminate bombing attack on the entire world, destroying mountains and forests, and cutting off rivers. Lin Moyu has never dealt with a problem in such a barbaric way. Looking at the world that was beaten to pieces, Lin Moyu said with a smile, "This is to conquer 10 times with one force. You don't have to use your brain. It feels very good." The entire world was nearly beaten to collapse. The mountains were flattened, the rivers were completely broken, and the river water evaporated in the sword energy, revealing the bottom of the river. There were some gems at the bottom of the river, and Lin Moyu was not polite and took them all away. The colorful clouds in the sky were completely scattered, not even a cloud was left. The whole world has fallen into doomsday, with ruins everywhere. Lin Moyu's barbaric behavior seemed to anger Long Zhu, and flames burst out from under the river, like a volcano erupting. Dragon roars resounded across the sky. Boom! The earth exploded, and a divine dragon flew out from the ground. The illusory dragon is still composed of soul power, and is covered in light and flames like clouds. Lin Moyu narrowed his eyes and said, "It's finally out." Inside the dragon's head, there is a dragon ball, which is Tian Long's 4th dragon ball. "You deserve to die." The dragon roared, its elusive eyes full of anger. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "I do have wisdom, but it's a pity that I'm not very smart." With a thought in his heart, the army of undead simultaneously attacked the dragon. A total of 50 undead legions, totaling 50 million skeleton generals, led by 50 undead commanders, equivalent to 50 supreme-level experts, launched a siege against Tian Long at the same time. Tian Long's Dragon Ball is very strong, possesses certain wisdom, evolves a world, and is not weaker than ordinary supreme beings. But facing the attack of 50 supreme beings, it was impossible to resist. The roar of the dragon continued, and the dragon evolved from the Dragon Ball struggled wildly, but to no avail. No matter how he resisted, it was all to no avail, and he was torn to pieces by the undead army in the blink of an eye. The dragon disappeared, leaving only a Dragon Ball burning with light in the sky. The Dragon Ball was spinning, and he wanted to escape, but was beaten back by the undead army time and time again. Dragon Ball is like a trapped animal, making its final struggle. Lin Moyu didn't catch the Dragon Ball. He took out the trapped Dragon Ball given by Tian Long and threw it at the Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball screamed. It seemed to be afraid of trapping Dragon Ball. The trapped Dragon Ball generated infinite suction, turned into a divine dragon and bit the Dragon Ball directly. No matter how hard the Dragon Ball struggled, it was of no avail. Lin Moyu clapped his hands, "Geez, done." The Dragon Ball was trapped and taken away, and the world collapsed. Lin Moyu returned to the starry sky in an instant. The trip went more smoothly than expected. It only took 3 years, and the 4th Dragon Ball was successfully recovered. Thinking that he had been outside the territory for hundreds of years and still failed to find the 4th Dragon Ball, it was really a matter of fate. If you have a destiny, you will get it naturally. If you don't have a destiny, it's useless to break your head. Lin Moyu took the Dragon Ball and returned to the borderland. Tian Long seemed to feel the breath of the dragon beads. The dragon eyes stared at Lin Moyu unblinkingly, full of disbelief. "So fast?" Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Don't you know my efficiency?" Tian Long has not recovered the dragon beads for many years, not even one. Now Lin Moyu has retrieved them one after another. This efficiency is indeed ridiculously high. Lin Moyu threw the trapped Dragon Ball back to Tian Long. "How about it? I got the Dragon Ball back for you so quickly. Is there any reward?" Tian Long said angrily, "What other rewards do you want? This is a deal between us. I will pay the price." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Can there be no other relationship between us except a transactional relationship?" "Other relationship?" Tian Long looked at Lin Moyu, his eyes flickering. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. "Aunt Eris and I are good friends, and I think I can become friends with you too." "Friends?" Tian Long's eyes flickered, as if he was reminiscing about something. After a moment, he slowly shook his head and said, "I don't need friends." Lin Moyu looked at him and said word by word, "Have you ever been betrayed by a friend?" Tian Long snorted lightly and did not answer. Lin Moyu said, and Talus once said that when he comes out, he will kill the dragons, and the dragons will saturate the earth. I also promised Antares that I would accompany him to join the dragon clan. Tian Long exclaimed, he really said that? Tian Long's breathing became much heavier, and he kept breathing out. Lin Moyu nodded and said, as I said, I can feel that Antares has the same hatred as you, the hatred of being betrayed by a friend. Tian Long suddenly laughed, very wildly. Indeed, we hate being betrayed by our friends, so we don't need friends. There was a little desolation in his voice, and Lin Moyu could feel this desolation, with a little sadness. Lin Moyu said, not everyone will betray, some friends will not betray, and some friends will even die for each other. Tian Long let out a long sigh. With your strength, if you want to kill the dragon clan, any dragon can kill you, just like crushing an ant. Lin Moyu said, I know that the dragon clan is very strong. There are not only Tianzuan in the dragon clan, but also Dao Zun, but so what? As long as Antares wants to do it, I promised him that I will definitely do it, even if it means death. Tian Long stared at Lin Moyu without blinking. From his eyes, Lin Moyu felt his change. Perhaps it was his own words that moved him. Tian Long's eyes changed significantly and became a bit softer. The vigilance that always existed was much less. In fact, Tian Long's eyes were somewhat similar to Antares's. Lin Moyu guessed that they must have suffered some bad things in the dragon clan. You can hear it from the words, that kind of hatred is difficult to conceal. After a long while, Tian Long let out a long breath. What reward do you want? Lin Moyu smiled and said, actually, it's not a reward, I just have some questions that I want to ask you. Of course, I know your rules, so just say what you can. Tian Long nodded slowly. Jane. Lin Moyu said, there are still 1,000 years, and the Dojie is coming. We discovered that there seems to be someone behind the Dojie. After hearing this, Tian Long suddenly laughed out loud. What's so strange about this? Some people are normal and no one is abnormal. Lin Moyu was shocked, as if he heard some great secret. Some people are normal and no one is abnormal. Tian Long chuckled and said, when you leave the big world one day, you will naturally understand. It is meaningless to know now. What I can tell you is that even if there is someone behind the fighting world, that person may not be involved. At most he can do some tricks, but these tricks are harmless and can't change anything. Lin Moyu asked, back when the Black Blood Realm and the big world were fighting, there was someone behind the Black Blood Realm. If it hadn't been for him, the big world might not have reached this stage. Tian Long shook his head. It's the same as the country. What's different? The identity of the person behind the Black Blood Realm is different. Lin Moyu wanted to ask more, but Tian Long interrupted him. Don't ask. What happened back then has passed. I can tell you that even if there are people behind Dojie, they will not interfere. Even if they intervene, it will only be small actions at most. Changes nothing. 1. Of course, if you can't even stop the other party's little moves, I can only blame you. In just a few words, Lin Moyu was absolutely sure that there was indeed someone behind the Black Blood Realm, but that person would not really interfere, and would only make small moves at most. Lin Moyu wanted to know what kind of little move it would be, but Tian Long didn't say anything, so he could only use his troops to cover up the water and the earth. Tian Long asked, besides this question, is there anything else you want to ask? Lin Moyu said, the small world where Antares was left and was taken to the big world. I happened to see him when I was in the big world. Tian Long's eyes changed again. Really left? Lin Moyu nodded, yes. Tian Long laughed loudly. Okay, just leave. Lin Moyu asked, is Antares really coming out soon? Tian Long shouted loudly, hurry up, those old guys, just wait for me, I will kill you sooner or later. At this moment, Tian Long was extremely excited, almost crazy. Obviously, Antares leaving was extremely important. Lin Moyu didn't know what it meant, but no matter what, he knew that leaving was a good thing. After Tian Long calmed down, Lin Moyu said, I have no other questions. Senior of the human race, do you want me to bring him here, or what should I do? Tian Long said, don't worry, wait until I finish absorbing the dragon beads. Tian Long opened the trapped dragon ball, and the dragon ball inside was released. Longzhu was trembling and shaking. There was a faint suppressed roar of the dragon, and it was obviously very scared. Tian Long sneered again and again, there really are some people who don't know how to live or die. They dare to tamper with my dragon beads. I'm really tired of life. I have remembered your breath. When I find you in the future, I will definitely cramp and skin you. The Dragon Ball is the most precious thing of the Dragon Clan, more valuable than any other treasure. If you dare to do anything to Dragon Ball, you will really fight to the death. Li Hao, Antares and Tian Long were punished, and even the Dragon Balls were deprived. You can imagine how serious the punishment was. Lin Moyu said, what you are saying is that the Dragon Ball did not naturally evolve intelligence, but that someone tampered with it. Tian Long nodded, yes, that guy deserves to die. If he waits tens of thousands of years, maybe this Dragon Ball really won't belong to me. But fortunately, now that Longzhu is back, that guy didn't succeed. Tian Long patiently explained to Lin Moyu that once the Dragon Balls produce self-awareness, it is possible to evolve into an independent world. The Dragon Ball will be conceived in the world, and the gestation process is very long. If it succeeds, it will become a member of the Dragon Clan. By then this Dragon Ball will have nothing to do with Tian Long. The damage to Tian Long will be very great. If he can do such a thing, he will naturally fight to the death. Lin Moyu asked, can you find each other? Tian Long said, I have already memorized the breath, and I will naturally find it when the time comes. Lin Moyu took out a few gems he had obtained before and asked, what are these things? Tian Long glanced at the gems with a little disdain, it's just a few pieces of the most rubbish dragon crystals. This guy is probably afraid of attracting other people's attention, and he doesn't even dare to use better dragon crystals. With a few pieces of the most rubbish dragon crystal, how many years will it take to mature the dragon pearl? It's really rubbish. It seems that this guy's status in the clan is not that high. Tian Long was talking, Lin Moyu listened carefully without saying a word. From Tian Long's words, we can actually analyze a lot of group sentiment. After Tian Long finished speaking, Lin Moyu said, tell me, is it possible that that guy was also instigated by others? Tian Long looked over and said, what should I say? Lin Moyu said, you also said that the person who did this does not have a high status. How can someone with a low status dare to mess with you? So I think there should be someone behind the scenes who instigated, you can investigate it carefully then. Tian Long frowned, this is troublesome. If he swears an oath, no matter what I do, I can't make him say it. The aura on the Dragon Ball can only trace the guy who did the trick, but not the person behind it. Lin Moyu said, I can try this, as you know, I can resurrect the dead. When he asked Tian Long for a corpse before, he had shown the technique of resurrection of the dead. Tian Long thought of this technique, his eyes lit up, haha, it's really yours, not bad. I'll find that guy and chop it up, and bring the body back to you. Lin Moyu smiled and said, I am humble in my service. Tian Long laughed nonstop, obviously in a good mood. He breathed out dragon breath and refined the dragon beads. The weak intelligence that was just born in the Dragon Ball quickly disintegrated and collapsed under the refining of Tian Long. Lin Moyu could vaguely hear the screams coming from the Dragon Ball. That kind of sound came from the soul and was very miserable. This kind of scream is a kind of enjoyment for Tian Long. This is his Dragon Ball, and there should not be such intelligence. Lin Moyu took advantage of Tian Long's good mood and asked, what level is Tianzuan considered outside the big world? Tian Long didn't even think about it and said directly, it's okay. Lin Moyu also knew very well that if he directly asked about the situation outside the big world, Tian Long would definitely not answer. It's better to ask about the level of power on the side. By understanding the level of power, you can guess some situations outside the big world. Sure enough, Tian Long answered. Lin Moyu immediately asked, "What does it mean?" Tian Long said, it's okay, not too strong, not too bad, Yuli." Lin Moyu looked confused and seemed to be talking to himself. Is it equivalent to a god in the big world? Tian Long shook his head. If it is stronger than this, it will be almost the other side. The other shore realm is a large realm, which includes the Holy Master and the Half-Step Supreme Master, as well as the Supreme Master and the Heavenly Master. If we regard Tianzuan as the other side, there is Daozun above Tianzun, and what is above Daozun? Lin Moyu still pretended not to understand. If Tianzuan is the other side, then what is Daozun? Isn't Daozun the strongest? Of course Daozun is not the best. Halfway through the words, Tian Long suddenly shut up. BCDF, then he snorted heavily, "Boy, you are trying to trick me." Lin Moyu shook his head. "No way, I'm asking sincerely. It is impossible to admit such a thing as a cliché." Tian Long snorted twice. He had no evidence and could not do anything to Lin Moyu. "You are a very thief, and you make many mistakes when you talk a lot. It would be better to talk less to you in the future." Lin Moyu quickly changed the subject. "You haven't told me yet how to save people. What's the rush?" "Wait." He was still refining the Dragon Ball, and the screens in the Dragon Ball had disappeared, and the aura in the Dragon Ball had also changed. The flames in the Dragon Ball became more and more powerful, much more powerful than before. Tian Long murmured, "My Dragon Ball is finally back." He opened his mouth and sucked the Dragon Ball into his body, and the aura in his body suddenly surged. The powerful aura broke through the starry sky, and Lin Moyu retreated involuntarily, retreating millions of centimeters in an instant. "The Pinnacle Supreme." Lin Moyu whispered softly. After Tian Long got the fourth Dragon Ball, his aura reached its peak and was still rising. It is conceivable that after absorbing all the Dragon Balls, his state will be infinitely close to that of Tianzuan. If the fifth Dragon Ball can be recovered, the realm of Tian Long will definitely reach the realm of Tianzuan. He didn't say anything nonsense. For him, losing the Dragon Ball was the practice of breaking through and standing up again. Dragon roars resounded through the starry sky, and Tian Long vented his anger wantonly. Lin Moyu didn't bother him. He had been suppressed here for so many years, and he really needed to vent. After Tian Long had vented enough and his breath gradually stabilized, Lin Moyu went over and said, "Congratulations, we are almost here, Tianzuan." Tian Long chuckled, "It depends on you." The implication is that it refers to the fifth Dragon Ball. Lin Moyu said, "I will try my best." Tian Long said, "Give me a piece." Lin Moyu threw a piece of dragon crystal to Tian Long, and Tian Long spit out a flame and fell on the dragon crystal. The dragon crystal softened immediately and finally turned into a bead. There are colorful clouds flowing on the beads, which is very beautiful. Tian Long said, "Your friend was injured by my Dragon Clan's secret method, the soul-eating flame. Let him use his soul to refine this bead and he will be cured." Lin Moyu put away the beads. "Besides, are there any other ways to treat the soul-eating flames?" Tian Long said, "Of course, if you are Tianzuan, you can heal directly." "Well, that means no. There are no deities in the world now." Tian Long added, "But that's just a low-level soul-eating flame. If it were the soul-eating flame I activated, it would be useless even if Inzun came." "That's not right. If I had activated the soul-eating flames, your friend would have died long ago. It can become a secret method of the Dragon Clan and be passed down into the Dragon Ball. Naturally, it will not be an ordinary secret method. Different secret techniques, activated by people in different realms, will naturally have different effects, so the silent words are very clear. By the way, I have something to ask you. Do you know what the essence of ancestral water is?" Lin Moyu suddenly asked. Tian Long's expression suddenly changed. "How do you know the essence of ancestral water?" Lin Moyu recounted the process of obtaining the essence of ancestral water. Tian Long was stunned on the spot and could not speak for a long time. After a long while, Tian Long murmured, "You can actually get the ancestral water and the essence of the ancestral water. That person is actually willing to give you the essence of the ancestral water. What kind of luck do you have?" Lin Moyu asked, "What is the use of the essence of ancestral water?" Tian Long thought for a while. The function of ancestral water is very simple. It can amplify all things. It can be used for any kind of magic, alchemy, weapon refining, and formation. It is similar to the so-called multicolored water in this world. It's just more effective. As for the use of the essence of ancestral water, I don't know. I only know that Lord Dragon God accidentally got a drop of the essence of ancestral water back then and kept it like a treasure. I guess you can only know the specific use by asking the Dragon God. Lin Moyu couldn't laugh or cry. "Where can I ask the Dragon God?" Tian Long said, "Perhaps in the future, if you encounter a being at the same level as the Dragon God, you can ask. Anyway, I don't know." Lin Moyu knew that nothing could be asked, so he sighed, "I understand, then I'll leave first. Don't forget what will happen in 1,000 years. If you want to sleep, don't oversleep." Tian Long shook his head. "Don't worry, Tian Long, will keep my promise. Don't forget to help me find the 5th Dragon Ball. Don't worry too." After Lin Moyu left, Tian Long closed his eyes with satisfaction and exhaled a long breath. "It feels so good. The eldest prince has gone to the Boundary Sea and will be out soon. I'm going to be here soon, you old guys, your good days are over. Dragon Clan, it's time for a change of blood. Lin Moyu is a good little guy. No wonder the eldest prince takes a fancy to him. Friend, what an old word." He closed his eyes and enjoyed the huge power brought by the Dragon Ball. His strength was approaching Tianzuan. Human Race Divine City Star Domain, by family. Lin Moyu came to Bai's house again. As soon as he walked out of the teleportation array, Bai Yi greeted him, "Mr. Lin, you are back." Lin Moyu asked strangely, "Why are you here?" Bai Yi said, "The boy specially applied to come here and is waiting for Mr. Lin to come back." Lin Moyu asked, "How long have you been waiting?" Bai Yi said, "After Mr. Lin left, I just waited. But Mr. Lin can rest assured that I have not delayed my cultivation, and I will not waste Mr. Lin you use good intentions." Lin Moyu can also feel that compared to 3 years ago, Bai Yi's cultivation has indeed improved, and he is indeed not lazy. Lin Moyu hummed, "Take me to see Senior Qiuxia." After 3 years, Lin Moyu met Bai Qiuxia again. Bai Qiuxia has lived very comfortably in the past 3 years and has the strength to suppress her injuries. Although there is no progress in her cultivation, at least her control of power is not a problem. The whole person is also much younger, no longer looking old and stale. Lin Moyu handed the bead to Bai Qiuxia's hand, refining it, "Your injuries will be healed." Bai Qiuxia was stunned for a moment. "Is it that simple? The injury that has troubled me for so many years can be cured by such an inconspicuous little bead?" Lin Moyu said, "The great truth is simple, don't think too complicated, just refine it." Bai Qiuxia nodded and immediately formed the soul flame to refine the beads. The beads melted in the blink of an eye and turned into running water and penetrated into the soul. Bai Qiuxia shuddered all over and exhaled a breath of turbid air. An indescribable sense of relief rose from the depths of her soul and enveloped her whole body. "It's so comfortable." Bai Qiuxia exclaimed instinctively, "It has been many years since I was injured, and I have never felt so comfortable." Once the soul injury healed, Bai Qiuxia returned to her peak. His strength is actually not bad, his years of accumulation are not fake, and his foundation is solid enough. Lin Moyu could tell that Bai Qiuxia had the opportunity to ask the Holy Lord. Lin Moyu said, "Since Senior Qiuxia is fine, then Junior will also say goodbye." "Wait." Bai Qiuxia immediately called Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu asked, "Senior Qiuxia, is there anything else?" Bai Qiuxia said, "Mr. Lin is so kind and kind. Bai has nothing to repay. He only gave me a small gift to express his gratitude." Lin Moyu said, Senior, you don't have to be polite. The faith card you gave me once helped me a lot, and to be honest, I also gained something while looking for a cure for you this time. No matter what Lin Moyu said, Bai Qiuxia still insisted on thanking him. He took out a small box and forced it into Lin Moyu's hand. Lin Moyu originally wanted to refuse, but the moment he saw the box, he couldn't speak. What Bai Qiuxia was holding turned out to be an ancient box, and it was an ancient box that was not sealed by ancient talismans. Lin Moyu was a little strange. How come Senior Qiuxia has this box? Bai Qiuxia said, it was obtained by Bai from the ruins in his early years. There are two things in the box, one of which is a pearl, from which Bai gained the power of faith and how to collect and use it. The other thing, Bai doesn't know what it is. Lin Moyu asked, didn't you give it to Xingzuan and the others to look at? Bai Qiuxia said, I gave it. Lord Xingzuan didn't know what it was, and finally gave it back to Bai. However, Bai knows that this thing must be very precious, but Bai has limited knowledge. This time I will give Mr. Lin a thank you gift, and please Mr. Lin not to refuse. Lin Moyu took the box and said, okay, no matter what it is, I have to thank the seniors. The juniors also have something here, which can be regarded as a gift to the seniors. Please don't refuse, seniors. Lin Moyu took out 2 large pieces of fish. The fish was very fresh and there was blood on it. The fish looks very ordinary, nothing surprising. Bai Qiuxia took the fish and checked it repeatedly. Apart from being fresh enough, there was nothing surprising about it. But Bai Qiuxia knew that what Lin Moyu took out could not be a mortal object. Lin Moyu said, eat a palm-sized piece at a time and bake it with the fire of the soul. Cook it very slowly. Don't be in a hurry and bake it slowly. After eating, practice hard and have better luck. You will be able to become a saint within 500 years. Bai Qiuxiao's body swayed so violently that he almost lost his grip on the fish. He looked excited. Lin Moyu's words that he would be able to become a saint within 500 years were like a heavy hammer hitting his heart. Holy Lord, the realm that countless cultivators dream of, he actually has hope, relying on 2 large pieces of fish in his hands. Bai Qiuxia asked in a trembling voice, Mr. Lin, can you tell me where the fish is from? Lin Moyu smiled, Jai. After finishing speaking, the body gradually became blurred, the space laws fluctuated slightly, and Lin Moyu had left. Boundary C. Boundary C. Bai Qiuxiao's voice trembled, where is the sea? He had never heard of Jai, but he knew that it should be a very mysterious place. Bai Qiuxia immediately connected to the Human Emperor network and searched for information about Jai, but found nothing. Bai Qiuxia sent a message to several friends, asking them if they knew about the Boundary Sea. As a result, none of these friends on the other side knew about it either. Bai Qiuxia realized that this was not information that could be known in the other side realm. Bai Qiuxia finally asked the Human Emperor, Mr. Lin gave me 2 pieces of fish meat, which he said came from the Boundary Sea. After taking them, he can speed up his cultivation and become a saint. Soon the Human Emperor's voice rang in Bai Qiuxia's ears, if you want to know the Boundary Sea, cultivate to the level of saint. The fish and meat given by Mr. Lin are very precious, don't waste it. Hearing the answer from the Human Emperor network, Bai Qiuxia was shocked. Mr. Lin, please rest assured that I will work hard to cultivate and be promoted to the saint as soon as possible. After leaving the Bai family, Lin Moyu went directly to the Human Emperor's body and took out the ancient box given by the Bai family. Human Emperor, have you ever seen this thing that Senior Qiuxia gave me? The Human Emperor condensed the projection and said, we have seen it, but neither Mr. Xing nor I could figure out what it was, so we finally gave it back to Bai Qiuxia. The power of faith that Bai Qiuxia got from it was one of the powers of the human race in ancient times, but it was later lost. Bai Qiuxia has rediscovered the inheritance of the power of faith. This is a great achievement. Lin Moyu smiled and said, even you don't know what it is, and I guess I probably don't know either. As he spoke, he opened the box and saw what was inside. It was an awl-like thing, about the size of a palm, with a sharp front and an oval shape at the back. Lin Moyu didn't feel anything special about the all. He tried to communicate with his soul, but there was no response. Lin Moyu tried it several times, but couldn't find its effect. The strange thing is neither a material nor a magic weapon. But the things that can be put into the box will definitely not be ordinary goods. The human emperor said, "We have also tried various methods, but we have not found his correct use. You can study it slowly, and maybe you can find the correct way to use it." Lin Moyu nodded. "I'll study it slowly, I'm not in a hurry." Farewell to the emperor, Lin Moyu returned to his manor. On the grass outside the manor, the calf was still lying there, with a rattle in his mouth, and he didn't know what kind of sweet dream he was having. This night, he slept for a long time. In 3 years, Xiaowu didn't come back, and Mavericks rarely found peace. Lin Moyu came to the manor silently, and Mavericks didn't react at all. He didn't notice Lin Moyu's arrival at all. Lin Moyu seems to be integrated with the space. As long as he doesn't want to, even if Mavericks is awake, no one can find him. A familiar fragrance wafted out from the manor and entered Lin Moyu's nose. Many memories suddenly appeared in Lin Moyu's eyes. It was the fragrance of iced tea. It is very interesting to think of the scenes in the past, when Yuzhu was almost burned and looked disgraced. The adventures, harvests, and transactions with Yuzhu are all still vivid in my mind. Lin Moyu walked into the manor and said loudly, "I want to sell something." A few seconds later, the manor's silvery voice sounded, "The captain has come to Dongzhu and has been waiting for you for a long time. There is a pavilion in the manor, which is exactly the same as the pavilion that Yuzhu had in the exchange. The existence of the pavilion is to commemorate. Yuzhu and Yuqingru were drinking tea in the pavilion, and they were also drinking iced tea from the Ice Tribe. Now that the Ice Tribe has been exterminated, iced tea has not become extinct. There are too many high-level people in the human race who like tea. Iced tea is not very high-end, but it is very unique, so it has been preserved." Yuzhu still had a lot of iced tea in her hand, and she kept drinking iced tea. Every time she could think of Lin Moyu and the little moments she had with Lin Moyu. "I used to drink alone, but now I have a companion." While drinking tea, she told Yuqingru her experience with Lin Moyu. Over the years, without Lin Moyu, the two have lived and practiced together, and have truly become good sisters. Now that Lin Moyu has finally returned, both of them are very happy and a little shy. During their chat, the two talked about what would happen when Lin Moyu came back. Although 77 does not plan to hold a wedding for the time being, the fact that they are together is already known to heaven and earth. If a wedding were to be held one day, I'm afraid all the top leaders of the human race would be present. As you can imagine, it will be a grand gathering of humans. Lin Moyu's influence among the top leaders of the human race may have surpassed that of all the saints. As for whether they were already mothers at the time of the wedding, it's hard to say. Seeing Lin Moyu walking into the pavilion, Yuzhu's pretty face was already smiling. She poured tea for Lin Moyu and said in a very soft voice, "Will you still leave when my husband comes back this time?" Yu Qingrou's beautiful eyes also looked over, asking, "Are you still leaving?" Lin Moyu smiled slightly and glanced at the two pretty faces. "I plan to take a break and spend some time with you." Yuzhu was the first to exclaim happily, "Really, that's great. How long do you plan to rest?" Lin Moyu picked up the iced tea and took a sip. The cold tea entered his body, bringing a chill. "Then it depends on how long you brew the tea for me." Yuzhu chuckled, "You can cut it as long as you want." Lin Moyu said, "Then just keep resting." "That's it." Yuzhu smiled even brighter. Yuqingru said softly, "After working for so long, it's time to take a rest." Lin Moyu sighed, "Yes, it's time to rest." Yuqingru is not as lively as Yuzhu. Most of the time, she listens quietly. After drinking some tea and washing away the dust, Lin Moyu took out a few pieces of fish and said, "I'll give you something good." The fish meat of the world sea can greatly enhance the cultivation level, even to the level of saint. Of course, this also depends on the qualifications of the two people. The fish and meat from Jehai can assist in cultivation, but it is impossible to turn a pig into a saint. He talked about the origin of fish meat and met Luo Qitian and Yu Lanwu in the deep space outside the territory. Yu Qingrou's eyes shone. Princess Lan'er is still alive. Yu Lan'er's lifespan has long exceeded the limit of the Fishmen tribe, but he didn't expect to be still alive. Among the Yuan tribe, Yu Lan'er had long been thought to be dead. Because Luoshan has human blood, its lifespan is relatively long, which is understandable. But why can Yu Lan'er live so long? Yu Qingru suddenly thought of something, and her face suddenly became red. Yu Zhu also thought about it. Why don't you please hurry up and extend Sister Qingrou's life? Yu Qingrou's pretty face turned red, and she glanced at her. Girl Zhu, don't talk nonsense. Yu Zhu said, I'm not talking nonsense. Why don't you help Xiazhu make the bed? Yu Qingru raised her hand as if to hit her, but suddenly she changed her hand to grabbing Yu Zhu's arm. Why don't we come together? Yu Qingru didn't know where she had the courage to say this. Yu Zhu, who originally planned to watch the show, suddenly changed from an outsider to an insider. Her pretty face turned red. Sister Qingru, what are you talking about? Exactly the same words, but this time someone else said it. Lin Moyu watched the conversation between the two, and the manner became more lively and lively. With warmth growing in her heart, Lin Moyu whispered in her heart, it would be great if you were here too. The soul gently leaned on the sleeping coffin, and the world tree gently drooped and landed on Lin Moyu, seeming to comfort him. The Red Star Supreme was busy setting up the 10,000 Stars formation. He obtained a treasure from the Blood Fountain ruins, which could greatly enhance the power of the 10,000 Stars formation. The 10,000 Stars formation will be able to exert combat power comparable to that of a high-level god. The 10,000 Stars formation is very powerful, but it also has its shortcomings, that is, it is difficult to move and has a limited combat range. It is impossible to be as flexible as the real Supreme. 10,000 star formations were arranged around the human star field, and they could only barely protect the human star field. Another shortcoming is that the 10,000 stars formation can easily be broken through by the enemy's concentrated efforts. The enemy does not need to fight against 10,000 stars formations at the same time, but only needs to break through one. Regarding this problem, the human race is already studying and solving it. They have to find a way to connect 10,000 star formations in series to solve this shortcoming. It is not easy to do so, nor is it impossible. Time has passed year after year. After Lin Moyu came back this time, he has been with Yu Qingru. After practicing, he would sometimes take the two of them out of the manor and travel around. Nowadays, the human star field has expanded a lot. After the transformation of the planets brought back from various races, some planets still maintain their original scenery and have become beautiful scenery. Lin Moyu will also take them to the outside world to show them what the outside world is like. While playing, Lin Moyu would also look for the whereabouts of the last Dragon Ball, but he never found it. However, I encountered the Boundary Sea and entered the big world a few times. On 2 occasions, strange fish swam in, but they were both killed by Lin Moyu. The fish meat was eaten, and the bone in the head was given to Yu Qingru. Lin Moyu found that as time goes by, boundary seas appear more and more frequently. Especially in the edge area, Lin Moyu can feel the impact of the boundary sea, and the space is constantly vibrating. This also means that the big world's control over peripheral areas is getting weaker and weaker. After cutting off the cause and effect, the origin of the big world becomes relaxed, but it cannot recover from it. At most, it can only delay the collapse. If we want to restore the world, it is not enough to just cut off the cause and effect. The changes at the edge of the world are the best evidence. Over the millennia, the big world is still expanding, its scope is still getting larger, and its control is getting weaker and weaker. Lin Moyu feels that as time goes by, this situation will become more and more serious, until the big world completely loses control of the fringe areas. When the boundary sea overflows, the power of the boundary sea and the creatures in the boundary sea will flood in, until the entire world is submerged. zero point 0.2 At that time, the big world will be completely finished. It will completely collapse and be swallowed by the boundary sea. As for the creatures in the big world, except for a very few, it is impossible for them to survive. Lin Moyu will never let this happen, he won't allow it. 200 years later, the Jiahai shell became available again. Lin Moyu activated the Jiahai shell and entered the Jiahai for the third time. After 200 years, Lin Moyu found that the world had changed again. It is a little larger than before, the edges seem to be thinner, and some cracks often appear. The boundary sea is still the same, constantly rolling and choppy, with no boundaries visible. The small world where he was born has disappeared at this moment. Dojie is much closer to the big world, and it won't be long before the two sides meet. The 800 years of the big world, viewed from the perspective of Jiahai, are just over 30 days. Suddenly light flashed on the Dojie, and a figure appeared on the Dojie. The opponent was wearing a set of exquisite armor, like a powerful knight. When Lin Moyu looked at him, he also looked at Lin Moyu. Powerful coercion spread out and turned into an invisible hand to crush Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu remained unmoved, his expression unchanged in the face of strong pressure. He doesn't fight back, he doesn't give way, he treats it as if it's nothing. The world of rules that transcends perfection shows its advantages at this moment. The coercive impact on the world of rules cannot cause much harm to the world of rules. Although there is a relationship with the boundary sea, the other party's pressure has been weakened a lot by crossing the boundary sea. There is no doubt that Lin Moyu's world of rules is strong. Lin Moyu whispered, "The Pinnacle Supreme, Do Di?" From the pressure he feels, he can tell the other party's state. To the big world, this pressure is equivalent to the pinnacle of supreme power. According to the information he got, among the Dojie, only the Dojie has the peak and supreme strength. No matter how powerful the Star Warrior is, he is only a high-level supreme. He didn't expect to see Dojie outside the world, and Lin Moyu was also surprised. Seeing that his soul pressure was ineffective, the man who looked like Do Di also put away his momentum and just looked at Lin Moyu silently. 12 The two are still far apart, and it is impossible for them to fight in the boundary sea. From his eyes, Lin Moyu felt a kind of greed. That is the greed for the big world, as if the big world has been regarded as something in the bag and wants to collect it. Lin Moyu estimated that the person behind Dojie had already told him the information about the big world. And behind the big world, there seemed to be no one. The big world is an abandoned world. Since you have been given up, save yourself. Lin Moyu jumped into the boundary sea. This time he came to the boundary sea, and he did not come here to fight the boundary. He wants to fish. Fish meat is of great benefit to cultivation. The bone in the head is used for stabilization and has many benefits. In addition, there is another reason that prompted him to come to Jiahai. Lin Moyu has a certain understanding of the boundary sea after working on the outer edge of the territory for so many years. As he came into contact with the boundary sea again and again, Lin Moyu found that he seemed to be adapting to the boundary sea. The influence that the once bounded sea had on him was gradually weakening. This time I came to Jiahai to confirm my guess. Lin Moyu rushed into the boundary sea, and the power in the boundary sea struck down like a hammer again, hitting him and the world of rules. The world of rules roars and shocks. Lin Moyu felt the difference. It is indeed much better than last time. It seems that Jiahai can adapt. As long as those supreme beings come to the boundary sea more than once, they can adapt to the impact of the boundary sea and explore freely. And the supreme being should be able to stay away from the big world and not be subject to the 10,000-meter range like me. Lin Moyu feels that as long as he touches the boundary sea dozens more times, he can fully adapt to the pressure of the boundary sea. This kind of adaptation is more like a kind of fusion, as if the breath of the world sea is constantly blending in and finally recognizes itself. He will also change from an outsider to a member of the world sea. Lin Moyu looks for strange fish in the boundary sea with the big world as the center and within 10,000 meters. The number of strange fish in the Boundary Sea will not be small, and maybe there will be the strange fish with the origin crystal like last time. If that kind of strange fish appears again, Lin Moyu plans to try to seize the original crystal. This time is different from the last time. The appearance of the magical lich gave Lin Moyu the confidence. Unfortunately, I did not see the origin crystal this time. The waves of the Boundary Sea rolled. Lin Moyu gathered his life force into a ball and put it into the Boundary Sea to attract the attention of the strange fish. This method was also discovered by Lin Moyu accidentally. He found that the strange fish in the World Sea would be attracted by the power of life. So the method of using the power of life to attract strange fish was born. Sure enough, Lin Moyu soon felt that a large number of strange fish were approaching rapidly, and the strange fish swam rapidly, causing the sea to shake. A large school of fish appeared in sight, numbering over 10,000, densely packed, chasing the power of life. Lin Moyu raised his lips slightly, knowing that he would gain a lot this time. Don't be disappointed in the first battle. The consciousness moves slightly and the trap method is activated. Spell: Summon the Elemental Lich. A huge elemental lich appeared behind him, and the divine lich participated in the battle for the first time. Kill them. Lin Moyu gave the order, and the Forcenet demon immediately rushed towards the school of fish. Huge power gathers in the divine lich fist. It doesn't look like a law or a rule, but it has infinite power. The water of the Boundary Sea turned into a whirlpool on the fist, and the divine lich punched out. Technique: break all magic with one punch. The Boundary Sea exploded, and an indescribable force rushed out, crushing the fish instantly. Above the Boundary Sea, a huge water column rose into the sky, reaching a height of 1 million meters. The people in Bosia suddenly raised their heads and looked over, with a little shock in their eyes. In the water column, Lin Moyu slowly flew up, with thousands of strange fish hanging in the air behind him. All of these strange fish were dead, and some of their bodies were in tatters and dripping with blood. The blood of the strange fish dyed the World Sea red. Lin Moyu put away all the thousands of strange fish in front of the Bosia people, and then returned to the big world. The person in Bosia who was suspected of being Do Emperor looked at this scene with flickering eyes. Lin Moyu's move is undoubtedly a demonstration. Killing thousands of strange fish in one fell swoop requires extremely powerful strength. As for how strong you want to be, you have to think about it yourself. Lin Moyu returned to the big world with his harvest. There were so many strange fish, enough for a strong human being to eat for a while. Although it can't change the fundamentals, it can at least give you a chance to extend the life of the Holy Lord. As for the skull on the fish's head, Lin Moyu laughed at it. After all, this thing was very useful to Yuqingru. In this battle, Lin Moyu was very satisfied with the performance of Divine Lich. The power of Divine Lich 573 exceeded his expectations. On the premise of not using the avenue of power, just one punch can defeat all kinds of magic and instantly kill tens of thousands of fish schools. That's why in the end, the harvest was only a few thousand, and a full third of them were smashed to pieces by the punch of the Divine Lich. It's a little wasteful, but the effect is really amazing. Feng Shui has changed, and I didn't expect that my strongest spell would now become an elemental web demon. Really, every spell is not weak, it just depends on how you use it. As long as the corresponding materials can be obtained, the elemental lich is indeed strong, ridiculously strong. Lin Moyu suddenly came up with an idea. As soon as this idea appeared, it began to grow crazily. If you use the source crystal to summon an elemental lich, what kind of elemental lich can be summoned? Lin Moyu also had to admit that this idea was a bit exaggerated and very unrealistic. If there is a source crystal, it will definitely be used to increase rope magic. When I reach Supreme in the future and have time, I will go to the sea to collect the source crystals. Turn every spell into an origin level spell, and then use the origin crystals to fully summon the elemental lich. Lin Moyu thought about how ambitious he was, and then thought about the person in the fighting world, and chuckled. I don't know if it scared him, but at least let him know that my big world is not easy to mess with. Don't think that encountering the big world is like encountering a piece of fat meat that you can eat as you like. It's hard to say who will eat whom. Time flies. Ever since the hundreds of tribes were wiped out and the starry sky was restored, the world suddenly became quiet. The human race's luck has reached its peak, and more geniuses are emerging. In the Divine City, some people began to continuously open up the secret realm and became famous figures. They became new idols, and Lin Moyu's name gradually faded from the public eye. In the high-end area of the Divine City, a grand wedding is being held. There are thousands of tables and tens of thousands of guests. There are two couples getting married, for geniuses who have emerged in the past few hundred years. The four of them have all reached the level of high-level gods. It is estimated that they will reach the other side in a few hundred years. Over the past hundreds of years, the four of them have conquered many secret places and gained a great reputation. Most of the invited guests are from the major families in the Divine City Star territory. They are basically geniuses from the major families, at least they are gods, and most of them are high-level gods. With the rise of the younger generation, the older generation gradually moves behind the scenes and no longer shows up often. The world has unknowingly completed the replacement of old and new, and the whole world has become more vibrant. A group of young geniuses gathered together and had endless things to say. I really envy these two guys for being able to marry such beautiful wives. We have known each other since the 4-star region competition, and we have worked hand in hand all the way to now. Our relationship is extremely deep. That's natural, I'm just saying it. It is said that they had made an engagement long before the god, and got married when the high-level god was there. This relationship is really enviable. Who says it's not the case? If I could find such a Taoist companion who would allow me to step back a level, I would be willing to do so. Come on, just tell me, it will be worse than killing you if your state is really set back. Ha 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 ha, we are here to have a wedding banquet, nothing else. At this time, the fragrance of flowers floated from the sky and filled the stars. Then the petals fell with the wind, like a waterfall in the sky, flying and flying, and the whole stars turned into a dream. No matter how grand the wedding of the gods is, it cannot be too grand. Suddenly someone exclaimed, "The bride is here. The groom is here too." Among the thousands of floating flowers, Shui Jilan and Qing Fei came hand in hand, wearing red ceremonial robes. On the other side, two people from Chuxiong Zhuangbi, also wearing groom's clothes, arrived through the air. The two newlyweds came close and looked at each other with love in their eyes. Flowers filled the sky, and the host shouted loudly, "The wedding is here," etc. His voice was suddenly interrupted. Everyone present looked at the source of the sound at the same time and saw a person flying slowly towards them. He looked very ordinary and seemed to have no momentum. But after seeing the other party's identity information clearly, everyone was in an uproar. All the previous dissatisfaction disappeared, replaced only by shock. Not only the guests were shocked, Zhuangbi Chuxiong and King Fei Shui Jilan were also shocked. Lord Holy Lord is here. It's actually the Holy Lord. How come the Holy Lord is here? No, it's not just the Holy Lord How, the person next to him is also the Holy Lord Wu. How come I have never heard of Holy Lord Wu? He is so young, such a young lord. It was Saint Hao who came, and he interrupted the wedding. Saint Hao didn't come alone, Xiao Wu was also accompanied by him. Xiao Wu rode on Nyo and followed Wu Xingzuan step by step. A pair of big eyes were full of curiosity, constantly scanning the crowd. Although Xiao Wu has been playing in the human race for so many years, this is her first time attending a wedding and she is very curious. Saint Hao came to the hosting stage and said to the host, "You don't mind letting me host this wedding?" The host trembled all over. He was just an ordinary god. When could he have a relationship with a being like Saint Hao? The hands trembling with excitement, as a god, actually stuttered at this moment, "No. No. I don't mind." Saint Hao smiled and said, "Well, the next step will be left to me." After that, he said loudly, I announced that the wedding ceremony of Zhuang Bai and Qing Fei, Chu Xiong and Shui Jilan has officially begun. The wedding that had been stopped started again, but no one had recovered from the shock. Saint Hao had already had a premonition about this. He cleared his throat and said loudly again, I announced that the wedding ceremonies of Zhuang Bai and Qing Fei, Chu Xiong and Shui Jilan have officially begun. Following his words, the sky was filled with rays of light. Rainbows intertwined in the starry sky, and countless flames flew in the sky, turning into groups of fireworks exploding. The entire starry sky became extremely gorgeous. Someone exclaimed, This is the power of the Human Emperor Network. Oh my God, the Human Emperor Network is here too. Not only did the Holy Lord come to preside over the wedding, but even the Human Emperor Network came to congratulate him. What is Chu Xiong Zhuangbi's identity? He couldn't be a descendant of some super family. No, the four of them all came from the 4-star region competition. As far as I know, their families have not yet entered the Divine City. So what happened? Everyone was puzzled, not just them, the 4 parties involved, the bride and groom, were a little confused. They have never invited the Holy Lord, so how could they have such courage? It is even more unimaginable that Renhuang Network is involved. In the end, Shui Jilan was the first to react. Could it be Senior Brother Lin? Only then did Zhuang Bai realize, only Senior Brother Lin can invite the Holy Lord. Senior Brother Lin is really a strange person. Qing Fei said with a smile. Chu Xiong said in a low voice, What should we do now? Shui Jilan rolled her eyes at him, Fool, what else can I do? Senior Brother Lin has already given me a big gift. Do you still want to return it? Qing Fei smiled and said, That's right, the wedding will continue. Zhuang Bai and Chu Xiong also laughed. Okay, let's go on. This will be the first wedding in the city where the Holy Lord can preside over. Shui Jilan said, That's right, I envy them to death. Because of the participation of the Holy Lord and the Human Emperor, the originally enviable wedding became extremely grand. The news spread throughout the human divine city almost in the blink of an eye, and everyone knew about the wedding. People began to wonder why Xingzu and Hao and the Emperor of Humanity went all the way to attend this wedding. There are so many geniuses in the human race, and there are not a few who are getting married. I have never heard of a saint attending. And it seems that it was the Holy Lord who took the initiative to host, no one else invited him. This has become a mystery, and the practitioners in the entire Divine City Star territory have become puzzlers. Finally, some news came out. Zhuang Bai, Chu Xiong, Qing Fei, and Shui Jilan are all friends of Lin Moyu. As soon as this news came out, everyone had a feeling of enlightenment. In recent years, although Lin Moyu's name has been mentioned less and less, but his legend has always been praised. Even if another 100,000 years pass, Lin Moyu's name will still be in the history of the human race. With sparkling lights and brilliant colors, the grand wedding reaches its climax. Cups are pushed and cups are changed, and the guests enjoy themselves. The quality of the food and wine is no longer important. Being able to see the true face of the Holy Lord is already a worthwhile trip. Good money is good. In the starry sky, space was distorted. Lin Moyu, Yu Zhu, and Yu Qingru stood in another dimension and witnessed the wedding. Lin Moyu said, Are you envious? Yu Zhu shook his head. A wedding is just a formality. The most important thing is to be with your lover. Yu Qingju said, Our clan never pays attention to these things. As long as we like each other, we are Taoist couples. Lin Moyu sighed softly, My husband will make up for it in the future. Yu Zhu smiled and said, With the 4 sisters? Lin Moyu nodded lightly. Actually, that wedding was not perfect back then, and I really have to do it again. When Lin Mohan passed away suddenly, there was always some regret. If there is an opportunity in the future, Lin Moyu really wants to make up for a few people again. Lin Moyu's words were not serious, but the two of them felt warm in their hearts. Sometimes it's not about the form, but about the mind. Looking at the commotion on the stars, Lin Moyu said, Would you like to join in the fun? Yu Zhu said, Everyone listens to your husband. Yu Qingru also said it didn't matter. Lin Moyu smiled and said, let's go get a wedding drink. Zhuang Bai and Chu Xiong's faces were flushed, not from drinking, but from happiness. They brought the beautiful bride to toast each guest. I don't know how many glasses I drank, but I had a lot of fun today. Qing Fei and Shui Jilan didn't care about them. They could drink if they wanted. It was a rare opportunity. Suddenly, Lin Moyu's voice sounded in the ears of the four of them. Four of you, do you mind if I come over for a wedding drink? The four of them turned to look at the same time, and Lin Moyu appeared in front of them with Yu Zhu and Yu Qingru. After Zhuang Bai was stunned for half a second, he immediately reacted and laughed loudly. You can drink as many cups as you want. Chu Xiong also reacted. Hurry up, come and drink, we won't come back until we get drunk. The four of them stopped toasting at the same time and took Lin Moyu directly to the main table. The two brides, Qing Fei and Shui Jilan, directly hooked up with Yu Zhu and Yu Qingru. Each one called her sister eagerly, and they became familiar with each other in a short while. The strange behavior of the four people immediately attracted everyone's attention. Who is this person? It looks like he is very powerful, and his identity information is hidden, so I don't recognize him. He seems to be quite young, I can't feel his level. Not just him, the two fairies around him can't feel their realm either. These two fairies are so beautiful. They look even more beautiful than the bride. Not only is she beautiful, she also has a very good temperament. Going to the main table, it should be Zhuang Bai and his friends. Lord Holy Lord, get up. Good boy, Lord Holy Lord actually took the initiative to say hello to them. They know Holy Lord. Amid exclamations, Lin Moyu greeted Saint Hao. Lin Moyu smiled and said, why are you so interested in coming to play at this time? Before he finished speaking, a beautiful figure suddenly swooped over and hung on Lin Moyu like a kitten. Master, Xiao Wu wants you to death. Xiao Wu didn't care what others thought, she could hang up if she wanted to. Xiao Wu's actions, coupled with the sound of master, shocked the entire audience. Everyone was stunned, their mouths opened wide, and they were speechless for a long time. Xiao Wu is the Holy Master Wu, and the Holy Master Wu actually calls the other party master and hangs on him so intimately. Who is he? Is his status still higher than that of the Holy Lord? Judging from the appearance of Saint Hao, he should have been used to it for a long time. Obviously, this is not the first time this has happened. Lin Moyu smiled and said, you are also a saint after all. A saint should look like a saint. Xiao Wu shook his head. Xiao Wu is already a saint. Let's see who dares to talk about Xiao Wu. Okay, this is so reasonable that no one can refute it. Lin Moyu had no choice but to follow her. Yu Zhu and Yu Qingru were laughing happily at the side. This was not the first time they had seen such a scene, they had long been used to it. And they also like Xiao Wu, a little girl who has no scheming intentions. Lin Moyu, with Xiao Wu hanging on his body, continued to talk to Saint Hao. How did you think of coming here? Why did the human emperor also come to join in the fun? Saint Hao smiled and said, isn't this your friend? I was just thinking about bringing Xiao Wu here to play and get some wedding wine by the way. Lin Moyu smiled and said, are you still short of wine? Saint Hao smiled and said, this wine is not that wine. It can be a little joyful, and you can do the same. Lin Moyu laughed loudly and said to the people on the side of the village, you go and do your business first, and come back when you're ready. Zhuang Bai said instinctively, how is that possible? Qing Fei said, okay, then please trouble Brother Lin to wait a little longer. Lin Moyu smiled slightly, go ahead, I'll have a drink with Saint Hao. Qing Fei pulled Zhuang Bai, while Shui Jilan pulled Chu Xiong. After walking a certain distance, Qing Fei said, are you stupid? Brother is obviously interested in us. Chu Xiong said strangely, if you have anything to say, just tell me. Shui Jilan rolled her eyes at him and said, you are even more stupid. What can so many people say? Go and have a toast and talk about it when you come back. Lin Moyu and Hao Xingzuan chatted while Yu Zhu and Yu Qingru poured wine for them. With the level of the two of them, they could drink the ocean dry without getting drunk. Saint Hao said, thanks to the fish and meat you brought back, many of our human race have begun to build a world of rules. It is estimated that at least 10 saints will appear before the war. Although 10 saints can't change anything, and even 10 half-step supremes are useless, it's better than nothing. Lin Moyu understood what Saint Hao meant. The human emperor and Xing Lao had already told them that they did not need to take action in the battle with the Dojie. Even the human army does not need to be dispatched. If even Lin Moyu is defeated, they will not have any chance. But it's not like they didn't do anything, say. Over the years, Wu Xingzuan and Xing Laoyuan also made a plan together. If Lin Moyu is really defeated, they will execute this plan and die together with the Dojie. They would rather have the jade broken than be destroyed. They will not let Dojie get any benefits. Lin Moyu said, I will go outside the territory again in a while to see if I can find the last Dragon Ball. If possible, Tian Long can regain his peak strength, at least Tianzuan. Even if the person behind Dojie takes action, there is no need to worry. In the past few years, Lin Moyu has not only been in love with his son and daughter, he has been to foreign lands many times, and also to the boundary seas several times. When I have time, I will also go to Dr. Tian Long. He and Tian Long also became familiar with each other and seemed to have become friends. Tian Long said that if the person behind Dojie really interferes, then he will take care of it. But the safest scenario is that he needs to get the last Dragon Ball. The guy behind Dojie is most likely Tianzuan. Only when his strength returns to Tianzuan can he completely stop the opponent. Otherwise, it is always not enough insurance. As long as they are in the same realm, the Dragon Clan is never afraid of anyone. For this reason, Lin Moyu also searched for the dragon bead several times, but unfortunately he never found any results. Now that it has been less than 200 years since the arrival of Dojie, Lin Moyu plans to go outside the territory again and search for it again. Originally, he had a chance to go to Jihai again, but Tian Long told him not to go. There is a limit to the number of times the boundary quilt can be used. If it is not necessary, don't waste the opportunity to use the boundary quilt. Saint Hao said, we are about to take action. The human emperor will issue an order in a few years. All races must return and are not allowed to go out. Tian Xingzuan is now not far from the half-step supreme. It is estimated that he will be able to break through in another 10 years. He plans to make another divine journey after the breakthrough to see if he can enter the fighting world again. Lin Moyu said, it doesn't matter if you don't enter, let Tian Xingzun not force it. In these years, Tian Xingzun has traveled several times, but unfortunately he has not been able to enter the fighting world. Tian Xingzun did not give up and planned to try again after becoming a half-step supreme. Saint Hao asked, what about you? When do you plan to be promoted to half-step supreme? Lin Moyu smiled and said, it's still a little bit close. It should be almost there. If nothing else happens, I can cook secretly before the war. Saint Hao said, your cultivation speed has always been very fast, but this time is the slowest. Lin Moyu smiled, maybe my luck has run out. Saint Hao joked, I think you got a wife and forgot to practice. I won't tell you when you plan to have a baby. Lin Moyu slapped his head, can you not mention this? Saint Hao suddenly narrowed his eyes, leaned over and whispered, you can't give birth. Get out. You are disrespectful. Lin Moyu said angrily. It's not that he didn't work hard these years, he worked hard every day, and worked hard for many years, but what can he do if he can't give birth? It wasn't born in the small world, and it wasn't born here, and he didn't know why. There is definitely nothing wrong with my body, but I really can't figure out where the problem lies. Saint Hao laughed loudly, don't be anxious, there will be plenty of opportunities after the Dojie is solved. Maybe when you become Tianzuan in the future, you can have a baby. Lin Moyu drank wine angrily, not wanting to pay attention to this old and disrespectful guy. The guests finally dispersed and the wedding came to an end. During the wedding, Countless people asked Zhuangbi who Lin Moyu was. Everyone in the village remained tight-lipped and refused to answer any questions. After waiting for everyone to leave, the four of them came back feeling a little drunk. It is true that he drank too much. There are thousands of tables and more than 10,000 people. How could he not drink too much? After the four of them came back, they couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Qing Fei said, "The wedding is really tiring. I wouldn't have done it if I had known better." Zhuangbai chuckled and said, "This is just the first one. There will be another one when we return to the Sifang Star territory." Qing Fei's face instantly collapsed. "Can you cancel it?" Shui Jilan also said, "I regret it too. I didn't expect to be so tired." Zhuangbai shook his head and smiled bitterly. "There are all elders in the family in the Sifang Star territory. It is impossible to cancel it. The maximum is 4 points." Several people had to accept this reality. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "You are also gods after all. It won't be a problem for you to fight for days or months. How can a wedding be like this?" Several people sighed at the same time. They were not tired, but happy. Chu Xiong shouted, "I would rather fight for a few days or nights." Lin Moyu flicked his fingers, and 4 jade tablets flew out and fell into the hands of 4 people respectively. "One piece for each of you is my wedding gift to you." Zhuangbai was not embarrassed at all and asked shamelessly, "Senior brother Lin, what kind of good thing is this?" Lin Moyu took action. "How could it be ordinary goods?" Lin Moyu said, "I have sealed an ancient talisman inside, and you can use your soul power to activate it to launch an attack. The attack power is determined by your soul power, and the strongest one can reach the other side realm." Advertisement. After each attack, it takes a day to recover. This jade tablet is actually not very precious. It is just a casual creation of Lin Moyu, imitating the ancient one-punch rune tablet. The ancient talisman punch once gave me a lot of help, relying on it to defeat the enemy time and time again. Lin Moyu made the ancient talisman punch just because he wanted it to help his friends without becoming dependent on him. The 4 people's eyes lit up. This was their trump card. A blow from the other shore realm was enough to save their lives. Lin Moyu continued, "This jade tablet is also a space storage magic weapon. It contains the fish I prepared for you. These fish meats have been divided. You can take 1 portion each time you practice. You can only take the second portion after it is completely refined. Don't be greedy, as it will be dangerous. Fish and meat can speed up your cultivation. It shouldn't take 100 years for you to buy the other side." The eyes of the 4 people are even more glowing, such a magical thing. Opening the storage space in the jade sign, I saw a lot of cooked fish. The fish meat was divided into pieces. Each piece was only the size of a baby's hand. Lin Moyu continued, "After the wedding is held in the Sifang Star territory, when you return to the Divine City, don't leave again. The human emperor will also issue an order after a while. You should practice hard in the Divine City and try to improve your cultivation." Lin Moyu said this in an extremely serious tone, not joking at all. Although it is not necessarily safe in the Divine City, if the human race is defeated, they will not escape death. At least it will be better than in the Sifang Star territory, and Lin Moyu also has his arrangements. Zhuangbai's expression changed slightly. "Is something going to happen?" Lin Moyu said, "There is indeed something, but I can't say it. Just listen to me. If you want to know, practice quickly. When you get to the other side, you will naturally know." "Okay, your wedding is over and it's time for the bridal chamber, so I won't interrupt you." Just as Lin Moyu was about to leave, Qing Fei suddenly called out to Lin Moyu, "Senior brother Lin, wait a moment, there is something here for you." Zhuangbai immediately said, "Yes, why did I forget it?" Lin Moyu was a little curious. "What?" Zhuangbai said, "We also got this thing in a secret realm, but we haven't found out what it is, and we don't know how to use it." Chu Xiong said, "This thing is a bit weird, so we thought we'd give it to junior brother Lin. Maybe we can see some tricks." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Okay, show me." Ching Fei rummaged through boxes and cabinets in her storage space and finally found this thing. Ching Fei took out a large prismatic ice cube, which made people feel bone-chilling just by looking at it. However, there is no chill emanating from its surface, and it is only slightly cold when you touch it. Lin Moyu took the prismatic ice cube and looked around. I don't recognize this thing either. Has Saint Hao seen it before? Saint Hao also looked at it for a while. I seem to have seen it somewhere. Let me think about it. Saint Hao is well informed, and his tens of thousands of years have not been in vain. But after thinking about it for a long time, he didn't expect that in the end he could only turn to the human hall for help. The human emperor sheds light and falls on the prismatic ice cubes, seeming to be scanning. After a while, the human emperor's voice sounded, "This should be the cold star ice crystal formed by the collapse of the cold star." Then the human emperor revealed the information about Hanqing Bingjing for everyone to see. The cold star ice crystal has been permanently solidified, and even if it is thrown into the star, it will not melt. The reason for the formation of the cold star ice crystal itself is very harsh. It is formed by the collapse of a special star. This kind of star is called a cold star, which is opposite to the fixed star. Hanqing's entire body is icy cold, like a large ice ball with extremely low temperature, and it will continue to emit chills. Anything that comes close to Hanqing will be frozen. It's just that the number of cold stars is too rare and rarely seen. At least there are no cold stars among all the stars in the big world. There are some scattered records in the human emperor's information. There was a collision between Hanqing and a star. As a result, the star was extinguished, but Hanqing was still intact. There was also a saint who tried to refine Hanqing, but failed and almost entered it himself. As for the ancient times, it is unknown whether anyone could refine Hanqing. The lifespan of cold stars is not as long as that of stars. They will collapse themselves at the end of their lifespan. Some will turn into nothingness, while others will condense into cold star ice crystals. But there is no record in the human emperor's information about the use of Hanqing ice crystal. Lin Moyu looked at the Hanqing ice crystal, which was a perfect prismatic shape, perfectly symmetrical up and down, left and right. In his eyes, Hanqing is the opposite of a star. If there is yang in the world, there is yin. A star may be extremely yang, and a cutting star may be extremely yin. Normally, extremely yin power may represent weakness and should not be revealed. But Hanqing still occasionally appears in the eyes of the world, but the number is very small. In the prismatic cold star ice crystals, mist lingers, and the interior seems to be hollow, like another world. Lin Moyu tried to use his soul power to explore the Hanqing ice crystal, but as soon as he touched it, his soul suddenly felt a sting. The soul that entered the cold star ice crystal was actually frozen to death. Lin Moyu was a little shocked. The surface was not cold to the touch, but the inside was extremely cold. This kind of coldness was something he had never seen before, and even his soul could freeze to death. Ching Fei said, "We tried various methods, but we couldn't break it." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "I'll try." The immortal golden body erupted, and the palm of his fist was covered with a layer of flowing golden flames. Lin Moyu squeezed the Hanqing ice crystal hard, but no matter how hard he used, the Hanqing ice crystal had no reaction. Interesting. The cold star ice crystal was so strong that it could even withstand his strength. In terms of pure strength, his power has reached the level of the Holy Lord. In other words, the Holy Lord has nothing to do with this cold star ice crystal. Lin Moyu naturally refused to give up and threw out an ancient containment talisman, and the Shirhan star ice crystal was thrown in. The Divine Lich appeared next to Lin Moyu at the same time. The terrifying pressure flashed past, and the Divine Lich rushed into the house to contain the ancient talisman. The ancient talisman containing the ancient talisman suddenly began to vibrate violently, and the space in the ancient talisman could not bear the power of the Divine Lich. Just when the Divine Lich appeared, the breath of several people present was stagnant. At that moment, they felt as if they had seen an extremely terrifying existence. The Divine Lich is the pinnacle of supreme beings. It is far different from their level. Just the coercion is enough to crush them to death. Fortunately, the magical lich only flashed past. As long as it stayed for half a second, the 4 people from Zhuangbi would be out of the field. In the ancient talisman, the divine lich roared, and a bond similar to a galaxy of laws suddenly appeared on his body. It is not a galaxy of laws, but it is better than a galaxy of laws. This is the avenue of power. Lin Moyu made the divine lich explode into the avenue of power, directly pushing its power to its peak. The ancient containment talisman shook even more violently, as if it was about to collapse at any time. Lin Moyu drew the runes casually, with fluent skills. In the blink of an eye, an ancient rune flew out and merged into the ancient containment rune. After collecting the 393 ancient talisman, it immediately stabilized. At this time, the divine lich punched the cold star ice crystal for the first time. One punch can break all kinds of magic, and with the blessing of the great power, the power of the first punch increases tenfold. Boom! The containment of the ancient talisman was greatly shaken. Fortunately, the power of this punch was concentrated enough and the aftermath was not strong. The cold star ice crystal was blown away by a punch, but it was still intact. The divine lich punched out for the second time, increasing its power by 100 times. This punch has completely reached the ultimate level, extremely close to the heavenly realm. The cold star ice crystal was blown away again, but it was still intact. However, the ancient talisman containing the ancient talisman shook violently again, and this punch reached the limit of containing the ancient talisman. It's so hard. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the divine lich punched out a third punch, increasing the punch by 1,000 times. The power of this punch has surpassed the peak supreme and touched Tianzuan. The moment the fist collided with the cold star ice crystal, an indescribable force erupted within the ancient containment talisman. The ancient containment talisman could not withstand the explosion on the spot, and the cold star ice crystals flew out. Lin Moyu had quick eyesight and reached out to catch the cold star ice crystals. The moment he came into contact with the cold ice crystal, Lin Moyu frowned fiercely. His whole person disappeared in an instant, and everyone present was stunned for a moment, not understanding what happened. It's so cold. Chu Xiong suddenly let out a strange cry, and at the same time, Saint Hao also let out a light sigh. Where Lin Moyu was originally, a large area of ice appeared. Saint Hao lightly touched the chair Lin Moyu was sitting on, and immediately retracted his hand. Frozen appeared on Saint Hao's fingers. What a strong freeze! Saint Hao said in a deep voice, it could frostbite his fingers. This ice was really terrifying. Yu Zhu and Yu Qingru were a little worried. Is he okay? Saint Hao said, don't worry, with Lin Xiaoyou's strength, nothing will happen. Xiao Wu suddenly raised her head and looked towards the sky. The master is there. Several people heard the sound and looked, and saw Lin Moyu hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the stars. Lin Moyu was standing in the starry sky, his whole body covered with ice, and he had turned into an iceman. Golden flames flowed from his body, and the immortal golden body was running at full strength, fighting against the ice. All the cold air comes from the cold star ice crystal in the hand. There is a crack in the extremely hard cold star ice crystal, and the cold air comes out from it. Just a crack, the chill coming out of it is enough to freeze the Holy Lord to death. If Lin Moyu hadn't reacted quickly, everyone present would have been in danger. The cracks on the Hanqing ice crystals are not big and are gradually disappearing. The coldness coming out from inside. Saint Hao and others flew over, but before they could get closer, the voice of Lin Moyu's soul rang in their ears, don't come near. Everyone stopped immediately and stopped getting closer. A few minutes later, the cracks on the Hanqing ice crystals finally disappeared completely, and the cold air no longer leaked out. Lin Moyu's whole body burst into flames, all the cold air was burned away by the flames, and he finally returned to normal. At this time, Lin Moyu's eyes were full of endless excitement, and he suddenly laughed heartily. It's really hard to find anywhere without wearing iron shoes, and it takes no effort to get it. His eyes were extremely bright. Looking at the cold star ice crystals was like looking at a rare treasure. Everyone was confused and didn't know what happened. Yu Qingrou's eyes suddenly lit up. Husband, have you found the Dragon Ball? Lin Moyu praised, Qingru is so smart. The Divine Lich used the Avenue of Power, and the third punch reached 1,000-fold increase, touching the threshold of Tianzuan. This punch finally broke out a crack in the ice crystal of Yao Hanqing. A large amount of cold air leaked from the ice crystals. In the cold air, Lin Moyu felt the breath of the dragon beads, which were Tian Long's dragon beads. I have come into contact with Tian Long Longzhu 4 times, and I am very familiar with its scent. I can't mistake it. Unexpectedly, the last Dragon Ball, which cannot be found anywhere, would be here. Lin Moyu took out the Dragon Ball, but the Dragon Ball didn't respond at all. The cold star ice crystal froze everything, even the breath of the Dragon Ball was frozen, making it impossible to sense the Dragon Ball. In this way, even if he turns the whole world upside down, he may not be able to find it. But Lin Moyu felt something was wrong, and asked, how did the Dragon Ball get into the Hanqing ice crystal? Cold stars are hard to come by originally. Only when cold stars collapse can they form cold star ice crystals. If the Dragon Balls want to enter them, they must be put in before they collapse. Moreover, Tian Long said that his 5th Dragon Ball was outside the territory, so how could it appear in the secret realm? Someone from the Dragon Clan deliberately brought it back from outside the territory. In order to mislead Tian Long, he said that he just happened to fly back. Is it really such a coincidence? Lin Moyu didn't bother to think too much and put away the Hanqing ice crystal. Anyway, it was good that the Dragon Ball was found. As for whether he could take it out or not, it was none of his business. That was Tian Long's headache. Yu Zhu chuckled and said, congratulations, husband, I finally found it. Over the years, Lin Moyu has traveled outside the territory many times, one of the purposes of which was to search for the Dragon Balls. Lin Moyu also smiled and said, I didn't expect that the Dragon Ball is not outside the territory, but here. He looked at Zhuangbi and the others. Thank you, this thing is very important to me. Zhuangbi smiled and said, as long as it's useful, for us anyway, it's useless except for hitting people. This is indeed the case. To others, the Hanqing ice crystal is just a super hard piece of ice, useless. Even if you are a saint, don't even think about touching it to share it. Saint Hao smiled and said, this can be considered fate. He is also in a very good mood at the moment. After finding the 5th Dragon Ball, Tian Long can regain his strength. At that time, you no longer have to worry about any little tricks the people behind Dojia make. Tian Long can deal with them. After sending Yu Zhu and Yu Qingru home, Lin Moyu immediately set off to find Tian Long. At the junction, Tian Long stared at Lin Moyu with half-squinted eyes, a little impatient in his tone. Why are you here again? Lin Moyu has come many times over the years, claiming to be chatting with him, but 1.2 is actually here to talk. Then I always fell into a trap without realizing it, and I talked a lot when I was trapped. Tian Long now has very complicated feelings about Lin Moyu. He feels that he is indeed not as good as Lin Moyu when it comes to fighting brains. Lin Moyu smiled and said, bring you something good. As he spoke, he took out the Hanqing ice crystal. Tian Long recognized it at a glance and whispered, Hanqing ice crystal is indeed a rare item, what's the use of it to me? If it doesn't reach Tianzuan, this thing is just rubbish. Even if you reach Tianzuan, if you don't practice the corresponding laws, it won't be of any use. It's not surprising that Tian Long can recognize Hanqing ice crystal. This guy doesn't know how many years he has lived and has seen too many things. Lin Moyu smiled and said, of course it's not just the Hanqing ice crystal, your last Dragon Ball is inside. Roar. What? The dragon's roar shook the starry sky and resounded throughout the border area. Tian Long's whole body trembled, and every dragon scale vibrated, making a sound like iron. Lin Moyu was a little surprised why Tian Long was so excited. Tian Long kept making dragon roars and roaring, bastard, bastard. As expected, it was you who violated the clan rules and used such despicable methods. His anger swept across the starry sky, and Lin Moyu could deeply feel the hatred in Tian Long's heart. In just 2 sentences, Lin Moyu realized that Long Zhu did not enter Hanqing by accident. It was put in artificially, and even the cold star collapsed into cold star ice crystals, which may not necessarily happen naturally. Lin Moyu is not in a hurry. After Tian Long has finished venting, this guy will naturally tell him the answer. Tian Long vented for a long time, and Shinkong finally calmed his eyes again, but the anger in his eyes did not diminish at all, and was still raging. Lin Moyu said, "Tell me, what is going on?" Tian Long glared at Lin Moyu and said coldly, "This is an internal matter of our clan." Lin Moyu smiled, "Isn't it just that someone tampered with your Dragon Ball and deliberately placed your Dragon Ball in Hanqing? Actually, this is not a bad thing." Tian Long roared again, "What do you mean?" Lin Moyu said, "Listen to my analysis. When we found the 4th Dragon 14 Pearl, you already knew that someone was plotting against you behind your back. But at that time you didn't know who was plotting against you. You just remembered that guy's aura and had to kill that guy to find out. Remember, that's just a possibility. What if that guy has been silenced? Or goes away and never shows up again? You will never know who is really behind you. Am I right?" Tian Long thought for a moment, and it seemed that this was really the case. What Lin Moyu said was not wrong. Although I remember the guy's aura, I can't guarantee that I can find him. The sky is huge, and if the other party escapes far away, it will indeed be difficult to find him. Lin Moyu continued, "It's different now. You also said that people who don't practice the corresponding laws can't use the cold star ice crystals. Then let's work backwards. If you don't practice the corresponding laws, it will be difficult to put the dragon beads into the cold stars. Even if it is put in, who can guarantee when the cold star will collapse and it will definitely become a cold star ice crystal? In this way, the target range will be smaller. Think about it. How many of the dragons you have enmity with have this ability?" Tian Long's eyes were shining, and after Lin Moyu's analysis, he narrowed the target countless times. After thinking for a moment, he had the answer in his mind, and his eyes became different. The anger before was somewhat confused, but the anger at this moment clearly has a goal. Lin Moyu's heart was like a mirror. "How about it? I've already thought about it." Tian Long said coldly, 9 times out of 10, they are those guys. When I go back, kill them one by one, and no one will survive. You all have to die. You all have to die. This hatred is really too great. When Lin Moyu heard about it, he was absolutely determined to fight to the death. Lin Moyu sighed softly, "It's a pity, you are just Tianzuan. So what if you go back, after so many years, I guess they are also Tianzuan." Tian Long snorted coldly, "Of course it's not enough for me alone, but with the eldest prince, there is something else." He shut his mouth again, and this time he reacted quickly enough to realize that Lin Moyu was trying to trick him again. Lin Moyu didn't give him time to react and quickly changed the subject. "What should we do now? Your Dragon Ball is locked in the cold star ice crystal, and you can't get to Tianzuan. How can you get it out?" Tian Long suddenly realized that it was indeed a problem. The other party's moves put him in trouble. If he can't reach Tianzuan, he can't do anything with the Hanqing ice crystal, and he can't get the Dragon Ball inside. But if you can't get the Dragon Ball, you won't be able to regain your strength. He seemed to have reached a dead end and could not escape from the hospital. Lin Moyu said, "Look, they are plotting against you. They know that there will be no more Tianzuan in the world, but they can't do anything even if they let you get the Hanqing ice crystal. You can only watch, but you can't get what you want. I just want to piss you off." Tian Long was very unhappy, spitting out flames from his mouth, burning the cold star ice crystals. Unfortunately, it is of no use. The cold star ice crystals remain motionless in the flames. No matter how you burn them, it will have no effect on them. Lin Moyu said, "I tried it too. Even with all my strength, I could only crack it a little bit, but it recovered quickly." Tian Long's eyes lit up. "Tell me, you can make a crack in it." Lin Moyu nodded. "Yes, it's just a very small crack, only as long as a little finger." Tian Long said anxiously, "That's enough. As long as cracks can be made, there is a way. As he spoke, several pieces of dragon scales fell off from his body, and the dragon scales surrounded the haunching ice crystal, leaving only a gap on one side. Tian Long said, "Just attack this side." Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the divine lich suddenly appeared behind him. The divine lich exudes the aura of the pinnacle, which is not much worse than Tian Long. When Tian Long saw the powerful lich for the first time, he couldn't understand. "Is this your summon?" "Although it is very strong, it can only be the pinnacle supreme." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Just wait and see." The avenue of power is activated, and strange bonds appear around the gods and monsters. The moment he saw the bond, Tian Long let out a strange cry, "The law of the Great Road." Lin Moyu asked, "What is the law of the Great Road?" Tian Long said, "Let's do things first, and I'll explain to you later." "Oh well." Lin Moyu was not in a hurry. The divine lich opened the avenue of power and punched out. One punch breaks all laws. With one punch, thousands of laws were shattered, and all spells were destroyed. The first punch increased tenfold. The second punch, 100-fold increase. The third punch, 1,000 times increase. With 1,000-fold increase, the divine lich touched the threshold of Tianzuan, and a crack was immediately smashed out of the cold star ice crystal. Because it is wrapped in dragon scales, the cold star ice crystal is fixed in the starry sky 977 and cannot go anywhere. The cracks on it are larger than before. The cold air leaked out crazily, and it also contained the breath of Tian Long's Dragon Ball. Tian Long laughed loudly, "It's really my Dragon Ball." Lin Moyu said angrily, "Do you think I'm lying to you?" Tian Long immediately denied it. "Although you always make cliché remarks, your character is not a problem and I have never doubted you." Lin Moyu said, "Okay, how do you want to take out the Dragon Ball?" In the cold air, several of Tian Long's dragon scales were frozen. Tian Long spurted out flames, and the flames penetrated through the cracks in the haunching ice crystals like thin lines. In an instant, countless water vapors rose up, and the flames of the heavenly dragon collided with the cold air of the haunching ice crystals. It was like two strong men fighting, erupting with a shocking force. The starry sky becomes colder and hotter, and the two extreme forces are constantly interchanging in the starry sky. The immortal golden body is naturally activated and resists two extreme forces. Tian Long's power has reached the limit of the supreme realm. Although it is not as good as Tianzuan, it can still resist the cold air leaking out. He kept spitting flames and getting into the cracks. In his flames, the cracks could not recover for a long time. The haunching ice crystals were not big, and through the cracks, Lin Moyu saw the dragon beads inside. The Dragon Ball was now wrapped in cold air, and seemed to feel the flames of the heavenly dragon, and began to sense each other. After a while, flames began to appear on the Dragon Ball and began to burn violently. There was a reaction between Tian Long and the other side of the Dragon Ball, and flames appeared on the Dragon Ball, becoming more and more intense. Under the combination of inside and outside, the cracks on Hanqing's ice crystals completely lost the possibility of recovery. More and more cold air rushed out, violently colliding with the flames. Tian Long's voice sounded, "The hardest thing about Hanqing ice crystal is actually its shell. As long as the shell can be broken, the inside is not as hard as imagined. In addition, it also has the function of freezing and isolating. It can freeze and isolate all breath. So as long as the Dragon Ball is in the cold star ice crystal, even if you use the Dragon Ball, you can't find the Dragon Ball. That guy has a very clear plan and tries every possible means to prevent me from getting the Dragon Balls. When the big world collapses, the dragon beads will naturally fall into the boundary sea along with the cold star ice crystals, and they will never be found again." Lin Moyu said with a smile, 100 secrets and one sparse, man's calculation is not as good as God's calculation. Tian Long corrected Lin Moyu, a dragon's calculation is not as good as a human's calculation. Your luck is so great that whatever you want can come true. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Then I accept your good advice. I hope the world can be rescued smoothly this time." Tian Long said, "Don't worry, when I regain my strength, the guy behind the Bosia will be nothing at all. If you really can't beat the Bosia, I can still beat those guys back even if I break the rules." Lin Moyu said, "It's not enough to fight back. I want more than that." Tian Long shook his head. Understand. I mean, I will be on your side anyway. You are my good brother. Whoever dares to bully you will be kid by me." This guy was so excited that he kept thinking of himself as a brother. Antares seems to regard him as a brother, but unfortunately he doesn't know what happened to him. The first 2 times I went to Jiehai, I couldn't see the small world. Antares didn't know where he went or whether he came out. Tian Long and Antares both knew each other, and both were punished. With anger towards the Dragon Clan, they both became their brothers again. Coincidences are everywhere. Tian Long breathed fire and continued to melt the cold star ice crystals, and continued, "You are not far from the half-step supreme." Lin Moyu nodded slightly, "It's not far." Tian Long said, "You helped me find the dragon beads, and I can't treat you badly. You go to practice under my tree and break through to the half-step supreme. When I regain my strength, I'll find you something good." Lin Moyu readily agreed. He had long seen that the big tree where the Tian Long was entrenched was an extraordinary thing. But he had never coveted it, or even asked. Now that Tian Long invites him, he also wants to see what is so magical about this tree. The tree is 100,000 meters high. When I came under the tree, I was as inconspicuous as a little ant. Only when you get really close to this big tree can you really see it clearly. The bark is like dragon scales, thick and majestic, exuding a powerful aura. However, the breath of the big tree is condensed and never disperses. As long as the distance exceeds 10,000 meters, it is almost impossible to sense it. Lin Moyu felt it carefully and felt that this tree was not as good as his own world tree. Tian Long's voice sounded, "In our dragon clan, there is an ancestral tree called the Dragon God Tree." Lin Moyu was shocked. "Isn't this the Dragon God Tree?" Just listen to Tian Long continue to say, "My tree is a branch on the Dragon God Tree." Lin Moyu was speechless for a while. Bai was excited. "It was just a branch." "Don't think it's just a branch, it's at least a treasure of the heavenly realm. It's because of it that I was able to maintain the Holy Master's battle record even though I lost 5 Dragon Balls. And even if I only have the Holy Lord, ordinary Supreme Lords can't even think of doing anything to me." No wonder Tian Long refused to leave this tree at that time. It turned out to be so useful. But this seems to be a benefit to Tian Long, but what use is it to my own cultivation? Tian Long continued to explain, "Practice under the Dragon God Tree, you can speed up your practice, enhance the physical strength, purify the soul, make it easier to break through the realm, strengthen the world of rules, sense the breath of the Dragon God, and enhance the power of spells." Tian Long talked about a lot of benefits, and finally summed it up. "Although this is just a branch of the Dragon God Tree, these have all the functions they should have, but the effect is just a little bit worse." Lin Moyu asked aloud, "How much difference?" Tian Long was stunned for a moment. How much difference was there? He really hadn't calculated it. If you calculate carefully, there should be quite a difference. Lin Moyu could tell just by looking at him, he was probably quite different. Tian Long shook his head. "It doesn't matter how close it is, as long as it's useful. You have to know that our Dragon Clan only opens the Dragon God Tree once every 1,000 years, allowing qualified strong men to practice under the Dragon God Tree for 100 years. That kind of person is at least a heavenly lord. You are just a saint, and you should feel honored to be lucky enough to practice under the branches of the Dragon God." After listening to Tian Long bragging for a long time, Lin Moyu laughed and said, Okay, the Dragon God Tree is the best in the world." Tian Long became humble this time. The best in the world dare not say it. There are too many magical things in the world, such as the legendary World Tree, which cannot be compared to the Dragon God Tree. Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat. World Tree. The World Tree in Tian Long's mouth could not be the World Tree in his soul. Thinking about it, it seems impossible. How could something like that appear in one's own soul world? Moreover, the World Tree was not called the World Tree before, but was called the Talent Giant Tree. It's probably just the same name. Lin Moyu suppressed the doubts in his heart and erased unrealistic fantasies. Tian Long said, absorb as much of the breath of the branches of the Dragon God Tree as possible. It will be good for you. Don't you have the Dragon Soul Crystal? My Soul Crystal can also help you absorb it. I will continue to smelt the Cold Star Ice Crystals. You can practice it yourself. The Cold Star Ice Crystals are very stubborn. Even if the inside and outside are combined, it will take a lot of time to melt. Lin Moyu asked again before practicing, what is the law of the Great Path you just mentioned? Tian Long said, don't worry, I'll tell you later. You practice first. I want to smelt this thing with all my strength. This thing is really hard. Seeing Tian Long gnashing his teeth, Lin Moyu stopped asking. He would know sooner or later. Quickly enter the cultivation state and begin to absorb the laws. Absorb more power of law from the galaxy of laws, sublimate it into the power of rules, and integrate into your own world of rules. The stronger the rules world is, the stronger the soul will be, and then feed it back to the body to improve its realm. The whole cultivation process is like this. It is not complicated to say, but it is difficult to do. Especially for someone like Lin Moyu who possesses 4 laws, he has to absorb the power of the 4 laws at the same time and sublimate it into the power of rules. His cultivation speed is 4 times slower than that of those saints who practice a single law. But Lin Moyu is different. He can even multitask when drawing runes, not to mention absorbing the calendar of laws. He multitasks, absorbing the power of laws from the 4 law galaxies at the same time, sublimating and sending it into his own world of rules, strengthening the world of rules. The rules of absorption and sublimation require the consumption of soul power. Even if you are a saint, you have to stop and wait for your soul power to recover after practicing for a period of time. But Lin Moyu doesn't need to. With the help of World Tree, he can't use up all his spiritual power just by practicing. As soon as a little was used up, World Tree replenished it. The cultivation process of Holy Lord is very long. For example, Holy Lord Hao has been practicing for tens of thousands of years, but he is still a little far away from being half-stepped to the supreme level. It has only been a few hundred years since Lin Moyu became a saint, and he is already on the verge of becoming a half-supreme one, which is inseparable from the help of the World Tree. While he was practicing, the Dragon God's branches also shed some strange aura, which penetrated into Lin Moyu's soul. The speed of absorbing the law suddenly increased by about 10%, but the consumption of soul power did not become stronger. It's really useful. Lin Moyu knew that Tian Long was not exaggerating, and it was indeed effective. The Dragon God Tree can increase the cultivation speed by 10%, so the Dragon God Tree will definitely increase it even more. It's just that Lin Moyu is a little disdainful of 10% efficiency improvement. 1%, no matter what, is better than nothing. Just when he was thinking this, Dragon Soul Crystal suddenly opened his mouth and let out a cry of friendship. 10 colors of light flashed on its body at the same time, and it began to absorb the breath of the Dragon God's branches crazily. Tian Long, who was competing with the Hanqing Ice Crystal, suddenly felt something was wrong. When he looked back, the huge dragon eye almost fell out. His eyes widened. What the hell? A vortex formed above Lin Moyu's head. At one end of the vortex was the branch of the Dragon God, and a large amount of energy from the Dragon God tree was being sucked away by the vortex. Tian Long's eyelids jumped. I asked you to suck, but I didn't ask you to suck in this way. Lin Moyu was so immersed in cultivation that he didn't even hear it. He was still smoking. In fact, the suction is caused by the 10-color Dragon Soul Crystal. The Dragon Soul branches contain some kind of mysterious power. In addition to being helpful for cultivation, it is even more helpful to the Dragon Clan. Dragon Soul Crystal is a treasure of the Dragon Clan and is also helpful. Out of instinct, the 10-color Dragon Soul Crystal devoured the mysterious power in the Dragon God's branches, and the 10th color gradually became richer. Lin Moyu didn't care if it was too much. He kept saying, suck it, as much as you can. Tian Long stared for a while and found that he had no calendar either. The words came out of his own mouth, let Lin Moyu suck them as much as possible, and he can't regret it. A dignified Tian Long always needs face. Whatever, the Dragon God tree can recover automatically anyway, it just takes some time. And when I reach Tianzuan, the Dragon God's branches won't have much effect on me. Thinking of this, I felt a lot better, turned around and continued to smelt Haunching Ice Crystal. The color of the 100,000-meter-high Dragon God branches gradually dimmed under the crazy absorption of the colorful Dragon Soul crystals. The 10-color Dragon Soul crystal absorbed nearly half of its mysterious power, and finally 747 itself was completely formed. The 10th color becomes as numerous as the other 9 colors, and the 10 colors remain balanced. The fully formed 10-color Dragon Soul crystal let out a high-pitched dragon roar, which resounded throughout the world of rules. At the same time, he spit out the dragon's breath and fell on Lin Moyu. Not only did Lin Moyu not suffer any harm from the dragon's breath burning, but he showed a look of enjoyment. The soul becomes purer in the dragon's breath, and many impurities are refined. Unknowingly, Lin Moyu's soul gained an indescribable nobility and was also tainted with a lot of dragon aura. Boom! The soul became pure and powerful, the bottleneck was shattered, and Lin Moyu finally stepped into the half-step to Supreme. Half-step Supreme, in fact, still belongs to the larger realm of the other shore, and can also be regarded as the pinnacle of the other shore. At this level, it is much stronger than the Holy Lord, but weaker than the true Supreme Being. The difference is that the world of rules in the Supreme Realm incorporates the power of the Source, is recognized by the world, and can mobilize the power of the Source to fight. The power of origin is very strong. But some powerful half-step Supremes have some magic techniques that have also been integrated with the original power. It is entirely possible for a truly powerful half-step Supreme to defeat the weakest Supreme. Just like Lin Mohan, when he was half-stepping to the Supreme level, he had an offensive experience equivalent to that of a Supreme Being. If he encounters a trash beast, Lin Mohan is also capable of killing it. After Lin Moyu became a half-step Supreme Master, he practiced for a while and felt that his technique had become stronger. Except for the Bone Hell, almost every spell will become fishy according to its own realm. The Skeleton God General should be a half-step Supreme. After forming the Undead Army, he should not be weaker than the mid-level Supreme. With full firepower, the Skeleton King should be able to compete with the high-level Supreme. Hell of Bones, forget it, this thing is not very obedient, but it is very practical. Under the Supreme Being, as many as come will die. It's a pity that there is no time to raise it to the Supreme level. Otherwise, no matter how many Supreme Beings come to Dojie, it won't be enough. As the realm improves, so does the physical body. The immortal golden body became stronger, and Lin Moyu knew that his physical body alone was enough to fight against existences like the human Emperor Star. The soul has long been in the Supreme Realm, and now it has taken a small step forward and firmly established itself in the Supreme Realm. The soul is the foundation of the world of rules. When the soul reaches the Supreme level, it paves the way for Lin Moyu. As long as he has enough original power, Lin Moyu can step into the Supreme Realm. However, Lin Moyu wants to become the Supreme of the Great World. He has to walk on the divine path and be recognized by the Great World. Soul, magic, and body are all strong. Lin Moyu realizes that his foundation is extremely solid and has almost no shortcomings. After practicing, I slowly opened my eyes, only to find that the starry sky was silent. Tian Long is gone and I don't know where he went. The cold star ice crystals also disappeared, disappearing without a trace. Only the Dragon God's branch, which had absorbed most of its power, still exists. Now the Dragon God's branch is only 50,000 meters high, which is half shorter than before. Where did he go? Lin Moyu has not left, and the Dragon God branch is still there, so Tian Long will not go far. No matter where you go, you will come back sooner or later. In the human star territory, the human emperor suddenly issued the highest order. All human cultivators must return to the star territory and are not allowed to go out. All human races' external teleportation arrays are closed, and the human race star field is completely sealed. The army then dispatched and began to assemble. Everyone is puzzled. The war is obviously over. Why is it still happening? Is there a new enemy coming? However, the Human Emperor Network did not explain it. It just asked everyone to keep practicing and not slack off. The human race now has enough resources. Even if they don't go out to look for opportunities, they still have enough resources for cultivation. Most people have no objection to the Emperor's order. But there are always some thorns in the side who are unwilling to obey and do whatever they are not told to do. The human emperor would not care about such people and would just leave them. But from now on, they are no longer eligible to return. The human emperor canceled their status as human beings, which sounds cruel, but the world has always been cruel. The human race in the past had experienced that kind of cruelty, and they knew what to do. Some of the new generation of humans have never experienced it, especially some geniuses, some of whom don't know the heights of the world, so let them experience it for themselves. What are the consequences of disobeying orders? The emperor did not even announce the punishment for those who left privately, which also led to more people leaving. These people are no longer human beings and will never be qualified to come back. The human star field has been sealed and entered a state of martial law. Somewhere in the human star field, dozens of galaxies are concentrated there, also shrouded by the human formation. The starry skyfish people live here. They relocated for the second time and came to the human race with the planet's resources. There is nothing they can do about it. If Bosia really comes, they will be alone outside and cannot block Bosia's attack. As long as there is one supreme being, they can be slaughtered. After discussion, Uchime made a decision to move the entire clan to the human star field. Only in this way can they have a chance of survival. If the human race also loses, then they will have no choice but to die together. There are 2 or 3 other small tribes who have no objections. They have no ability to protect themselves and completely follow the human race. At this moment, it is less than 100 years before the arrival of Bosia. In the borderland, Lin Moyu waited for 2 full years, and the silent starry sky finally changed. A huge gap suddenly appeared in the starry sky, and Tian Long rushed out of the gap. He was soaked to the skin and dripping with water. Tian Long laughed loudly. "I'm back." Lin Moyu looked at Tian Long. "Did you go to Jihai?" The water on Tian Long's body is the water of the Boundary Sea. It is obvious that he went to the Boundary Sea. Tian Long shouted, "You ask questions knowingly, but it's not like you don't know the water of the Boundary Sea." Lin Moyu said, "Are you injured?" He saw some broken dragon scales on Tian Long's body, and several places where the skin and flesh were open and bleeding. He stretched out his hand and waved out a force of life that fell on Tian Long and treated him. Tian Long felt the majestic vitality and laughed. "It's so good. It's just a skin injury. Look what I brought back to you." Tian Long opened his mouth and spit out 3 things. For a time, the rich original power spread wantonly in the starry sky. Lin Moyu narrowed his eyes slightly. Origin crystal. It seems a little different. In front of his eyes were 3 pill-like things, which were larger than pills, several times larger than a normal person's head, and almost half the diameter. It's round and seems a little soft. "What is this?" Lin Moyu asked shamelessly. Tian Long laughed and said, "This is called fish elixir. It is condensed from a kind of fish essence in the world sea. It is a kind of this crystal." Lin Moyu said strangely, "But I feel that it is very complicated. In addition to the original power, there are many other things." Tian Long said, "Your induction is correct. It is indeed impure. These impure powers need to be dealt with special methods. For others, it is troublesome to deal with, but for you, it is not very simple. It is troublesome to others, but very simple to myself." Lin Moyu immediately thought of the world-burning fire, or the immortal flame. It doesn't seem right when I think about it. Tian Long quickly gave the answer. Don't you have the Dragon Soul Crystal? Use the Dragon Soul Crystal to refine it and purify it to get the pure original crystal. These origin crystals are used to fuse spells, which can elevate the spells to a higher level. Of course, if you want to use them to advance to Supreme, it's not impossible, but I don't recommend you do it. Of course, Lin Moyu will not use these original powers to be promoted to the Supreme. If he wants to become the Supreme of the big world, how can he use external original powers? Unless the big world really can't support him, he will consider other ways. Lin Moyu murmured to himself, it is indeed a good idea to use fusion spells. Thinking of the original fire, his resurrection of the dead was promoted to the original level, and the power was greatly increased, which was of great help to him. If other spells can also be promoted to the original level, his combat power will definitely be able to reach a higher level. Under the premise that the realm cannot be improved, this is already the best way. The most important thing is that even if the level of the source power of the magic fusion is low, this can be compensated. If you can find a more advanced source of power in the future, you can continue to integrate it. Tian Long's skin injuries recovered quickly under the influence of the force of life. He urged, hurry up, take out your Dragon Soul crystals to refine them. Lin Moyu thought of his Dragon Soul crystal, be mentally prepared, don't be scared. Tian Long said strangely, it's just the Dragon Soul crystal. I've seen it a lot, so there's nothing to be scared of. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the Dragon Soul crystal in his soul flew out from between his eyebrows and came to the real world. The Dragon Soul crystal transformed into a hazy divine dragon, about 10 meters in length, which was just a tiny bit smaller than the Tian Long. However, the pressure on the Dragon Soul crystal is not weaker than that of Tian Long, especially the noble temperament, which seems to be even higher than that of Tian Long. A hazy atmosphere lingers around the body, and 10 colors flash alternately, making it look beautiful. A second after the colorful Dragon Soul crystal appeared, Tian Long let out a strange scream, and the huge dragon body trembled and retreated thousands of miles. His whole body was almost hairy, his dragon scales stood up, and his dragon eyes stared at the colorful Dragon Soul crystal. Lin Moyu said helplessly, I just said, don't be scared. After a long while, Tian Long finally calmed down and slowly flew back. You. He asked you for a long time, but he didn't tell you why. This was the first time that Lin Moyu saw Tian Long lose his temper like this. He realized that the meaning of Wan Kailong's soul crystal was not simple. Can you speak normally? Tian Long shook his head, almost roaring, you're normal, how can you make me normal like this? Do you know what you did? Lin Moyu shrugged, pretending that he knew nothing, and said nonchalantly, isn't it just the 10-color Dragon Soul crystal? It is more colorful than the 9-color crystal. Fart! Tian Long roared. He was so excited that he was almost out of breath, and his whole body was shaking. Do you know what it means to have more color? You don't know at all, you know nothing. That's a legend, the legend of our dragon clan. According to legend, if anyone can possess more than 9 colors of Dragon Soul crystal, then... Suddenly, he stopped. Lin Moyu asked, just what? Tian Long roared angrily, it's just bullshit. Believe it or not, I will kill you now. Lin Moyu snorted, I don't believe it. How could Lin Moyu not know about Tian Long's sharp mouth? Sure enough, Tian Long shouted angrily, you make me mad to death. Lin Moyu said, what's going on? Tell me clearly. Tian Long shouted, what the hell, be careful in the future and don't let others know that you have the 10-color Dragon Soul crystal, otherwise not only the Dragon Clan, but everyone will come to hunt you down. Lin Moyu raised his eyebrows, is it so serious? Tian Long warned, nonsense will only be more serious than what I said. You must not let anyone know, otherwise don't say you are a Tianzuan. Even if you are a Taoist, you will still die. Lin Moyu realized the seriousness of the matter. He knew that the Shikai Dragon Soul crystal was special, but he didn't expect it to be so special. From this point of view, the 10-color Dragon Soul crystal has extraordinary significance to the Dragon Clan. The aura of Tian Long surged, and a layer of original power spread out, covering an area of dozens of light years in an instant. Tian Long closed his eyes and sensed it carefully before he felt relieved and said, "It's fine if there's no one around." Then his original power vibrated at a special frequency, and Lin Moyu heard a sound like tinnitus. The original power penetrated time and space, and Lin Moyu was shocked. "You erased the mark of time and space." Once the time and space mark is erased, even if someone uses time to look back, they will not be able to see what happened today. Tian Long snorted and looked at Lin Moyu like an idiot. "Otherwise, you don't know the terror of those guys at all. You must not leave any traces." Lin Moyu frowned. "But are you being too deliberate?" Tian Long said, "Why do you care so much? I've even erased your mark. I can't find you if anything happens. Please refine it quickly, and I'll help you take a look." Lin Moyu was slightly moved in his heart. Tian Long's doing this was equivalent to removing himself. If a strong person really comes after him, he will be able to find Tian Long. He did this just to protect himself. Lin Moyu no longer hesitated, and with a move in his heart, he controlled the colorful dragon soul crystal to refine the fish elixir. The body shape of the 10-colored dragon soul crystal exploded, turning into 10-colored flames that enveloped the fish pill. Dragon roars rang out, and the impurities in the fish pill began to be refined and removed. The refining speed is very fast, and it won't take long for the impurities to be completely removed. Tian Long asked, "How did you get the 10th color?" He knew that Antares got the 9-colored dragon soul crystal for Lin Moyu. It was because of Antares' special identity and ability that he could make it. But Jiucai is the limit. Even if the dragon god comes, there will only be Jiucai. The 10th color is a legend. Lin Moyu said, "I once obtained a piece of original fire. When I was fusing magic in the soul world, a divine dragon came to the door. This dragon seems to have no intelligence. I killed it, and then it was eaten by the dragon soul crystal, and it became the 10-colored dragon soul crystal." The more Tian Long listened, the bigger his eyes widened. "Hey, dear, the dragon in the void of souls. Which unlucky dragon is it that got lost in the void of souls, and was finally met by you?" Lin Moyu took the opportunity to ask, "Can you tell me about the void of the soul?" This can be small. The soul void is an extremely mysterious world. Even today, even though I have reached half-step to the Supreme, I still know nothing about the soul void. Not only him, but even all the information in the big world knew very little. This has nothing to do with realm, it is all about knowledge reserves. Tian Long was born in the Dragon Clan, and his understanding of all aspects was far beyond his own. In Tian Long's narration, Lin Moyu had a clear understanding of the void of the soul for the first time. The void of the soul is vast and boundless, and no one knows where its edge is. If any cultivator in the big world comes into contact with the world outside the world for the first time, it is the void of the soul. From the perspective of the void of souls, the souls of all living beings are in the same space, but this space is so big that no matter how many living beings there are, it is difficult for them to meet each other. According to Tian Long, it is almost impossible to encounter the soul of another living being in the soul void. Just like there are only 10 stars in the big world, how difficult it must be for these 10 stars to meet each other. Therefore, in the void of soul, Lin Moyu will encounter a dragon that was lost in 813. The probability is very gratifying. It is precisely because of the mystery of the soul void that some strong people will explore its secrets and eventually get lost in it, unable to return. In the world outside the big world, such a person who is qualified to explore the void of the soul is at least a heavenly lord, or even a Taoist lord. But no one has ever succeeded, and almost everyone has failed. But having said that, even if someone succeeds and knows some secrets of the void of souls, he will not tell them. In the history of the Dragon Clan, some members went to search the soul void and never came back. Once their souls are lost, their bodies will fall into death. This death is very fast and ignores the long life of the Dragon Clan. But their souls did not die, They were just lost in the void of souls, losing themselves, losing consciousness, and only having weak instincts. The divine dragon that Lin Moyu encountered had been lost in the void of souls for who knows how many years. It might have been a dragon from hundreds of millions of years ago, but in reality it had been completely dead for a long time. Lin Moyu sighed. Even Taoist master can't explore the void of the soul. It's really mysterious. Tian Long said, isn't it? The void of the soul is the most mysterious place under the Great Road. Even in our dragon clan, there are very few records about soul emptiness. There once was a dragon god who went to explore the void of the soul, and then died not long after. His body, which was supposed to be eternal, completely rotted away in just 1 year and turned into ashes. Lin Moyu was also a little surprised. Even the dragon god was lost. It was really scary. Lin Moyu thought of the system that disappeared in the soul void and didn't know where the other party had gone. As a result, my own system seems extremely mysterious and unpredictable. Temporarily suppressing his curiosity about the void of the soul, he knew that this was not something he could touch now. While they were talking, the refining of the fish pill had already been completed for the most part, and it would be completely refined in a while. Lin Moyu asked, the original owner of the fish pill must also be Tianzuan. He thought that Tian Long had suffered some skin injuries when he came back. The one who could hurt Tianzuan should be Tianzuan. Tian Long shook his head. No, they are the pinnacle supreme ones. It's just that the environment they are in is somewhat special, and they can hurt me in return. But at most it can only scratch the surface. There is an insurmountable gap between Tianzuan and Peak Supreme. Lin Moyu asked, besides the fish pills, have you obtained some of their bones? Tian Long seemed to have thought about what Lin Moyu was going to do, and chuckled, I know what your kid is going to do, but what's the benefit to me? Lin Moyu asked, what benefits do you want? Tian Long said, it's actually very simple. Promise me one thing. When I come to you in the future, you can't refuse. Lin Moyu said, it depends on the situation. You can't ask me to commit suicide, and I won't refuse. Tian Long shook his big head, of course not. Although that matter will be dangerous, I promise that I will not make you commit suicide. Lin Moyu felt that Tian Long's smile was a little evil, even a little sneaky, but he still agreed, okay, I promise you. In fact, Tian Long does not need to ask for any conditions. As long as he asks, Lin Moyu will agree if it is not too excessive. But Tian Long likes trading, this seems to be his habit. Thinking of Antares, it seems that he also has this habit. I wonder if it is because they are both dragons. Tian Long spit out a piece of dragon scale. There was a storage space in the dragon scale, and a pile of strange fish corpses were placed in it. These strange fish have been disemboweled, and the fish elixir is taken out from their stomachs. These strange fish are different from the strange fish Lin Moyu has killed. They are larger in size and covered with barbs. They look very ferocious. Tian Long said, this is their flesh and blood. There are a total of 18. Songyu, the main one, produced the fish boat. Lin Moyu looked at the corpse of the strange fish and said, there seem to be many different kinds of fish in the sea. What are they called? Tian Long said, sticky fish. Didn't you see that there are spines all over the body? Stickleback fish. The name is straightforward enough. Lin Moyu thought for a moment. The fish he usually killed were not big in size and had no obvious spines on their bodies. Only their tails were slightly special, bifurcated into 5 petals. He took out a dead fish and asked, what is this kind of fish called? Tian Long said, 5 fish. Lin Moyu asked, I have also seen a kind of strange fish with a round body and a piece of origin crystal hanging on the top of its head, like a lantern. What is it called again? Tian Long seemed to be annoyed by the question, lantern fish, just think about it. That origin crystal is rubbish, not as good as the fish pill. Lin Moyu looked at Tian Long and was a little complacent, and instinctively turned on the cliché mode, how could I know so much? The origin crystal is not as good as the fish pill. Aren't they all the origin? What's the difference? Tian Long laughed loudly. Seeing that you are so humbly asking for advice, I will tell you mercifully. Tian Long said a lot without knowing it, and finally made Lin Moyu understand the difference between the origins. It is also the origin, but there are also differences in levels. The simple and crude ones can be divided into levels 1 to 9, but within each level, there are huge differences. Like the lanternfish I encountered before, its origin power is relatively rubbish. The origin crystal obtained from it only has a first-order origin, and it is relatively poor among first-order sources. The original power of the fish pill is stronger, and it belongs to the third level of origin. Tian Long could not accurately grade the original fire that Lin Moyu had obtained before, because he had never seen it before. However, according to Tian Long, Lin Moyu felt that the original fire should be at the 4th or 5th level, which was stronger than the fish pill. The crystallization of the world left by refining the Supreme Being is the second-order origin. The same goes for those remaining worlds. According to Tian Long, it is difficult to obtain source power beyond the 3rd level. Some fish in the Boundary Sea do possess 4th-level source power, but they are at least at the heavenly realm. Due to the environment of the Boundary Sea, it is extremely difficult to kill them. Often, at the end of the fight, those fish will self-destruct, and those who fight to the death will be hard to obtain. The origin power of all worlds also has levels. For a world like the Great World that can already carry the Heavenly Lord, its origin power can reach the 6th level. And the original power of Dojie is at the 5th level at most. Dojie just wants to absorb the origin of the big world and let its original power reach the 6th level. In other words, it is the people behind Dojie who discovered the prey of Big World in 5.1. In addition to the differences in level, there are also differences in quality between the origins. The original crystal obtained in the World Sea is of the worst quality and contains a lot of impurities. Then there are those refined from the remaining worlds, and the quality will be slightly better among the same levels. The origin fire left by the mysterious master is already quite pure, and its quality is already superior among origins of the same level. The best quality is undoubtedly the origin of a complete world like the Big World. This kind of origin is called world-class origin, and its quality is top-notch at the same level. Lin Moyu murmured to himself, it seems that the original power of the Big World is very strong. Tian Long said, that's natural. World-class 6th-level origins are very rare. Okay, the fish elixir is almost refined, you can go and absorb it. Remember, don't refining outside again in the future. Tian warned again worriedly. Lin Moyu nodded and took the dragon soul crystal and fish pill into the soul minister. The next step is to choose the technique and see which technique to fuse. After the refining was completed, the 3 fish pills were several times smaller than before, only half the size of a fist, and now they really looked like pills. Lin Moyu can feel the original power contained in the fish elixir. The fish elixir with the 3rd-level origin power is not very good, but it is not bad either. It is indeed inferior to the original fire. The original fire is at least the 4th level or even the 5th level of original power. Lin Moyu can clearly feel the difference. Similarly, if you use fish elixir to blend into a spell, the increase will be slightly lower than that of the original fire. Fortunately, the power of the source can be integrated multiple times. If there is a better source crystal in the future, it will be no problem to integrate again. Which 3 spells are the best to choose? There are a lot of spells, and Lin Moyu is thinking about how to choose to maximize his combat experience. Hell of Bones? The Bone Hell has now reached the Saint Realm, with a diameter of 2 light years. And it has been integrated into an origin crystal. This origin crystal is only the first-order origin. It only promotes the skeleton hell, but does not reborn the skeleton hell. And now the skeleton hell has not reached the promotion limit. Even if 3 fish pills are integrated into it, it will be promoted to half-step supreme if it is exhausted. If it does not reach the supreme level, it will not play a big role in the battle of the fighting world. Under the Supreme Being, the current skeleton hell is powerful enough and does not need promotion. 14. After thinking about it, Lin Moyu gave up on the Hell of Bones. Make the sword stronger. Lin Moyu turned his attention to several spells that already possessed supreme combat power. Suddenly, the infinite fusion from above flew over and headed towards the three fish pills. Lin Moyu was slightly startled. What are you doing here? Infinite fusion flew around Lin Moyu in a circle and then flew to the three fish pills so violently that it evolved into a large iron pot. This thing was used for infinite fusion when forcibly merging spells before, but it never appeared again. Lin Moyu was stunned. Are you planning to fuse fish pills? Infinite fusion hums, as if to answer, that's right. Lin Moyu didn't stop him. He knew that what infinite fusion was doing was beneficial to him. The iron pot sucked in all three fish pills, sprayed out a large amount of mist, and heard a knocking sound. Lin Moyu was dumbfounded. This is alchemy, not blacksmithing. Infinite fusion heard Lin Moyu's words, and the sound of iron became louder. After beating for 10 minutes, the iron pot finally opened. A burst of chaotic mist spurted out, and at the same time, a fist-sized source crystal was sprayed out. The three fish pills merged into one and became an origin crystal. The original crystal exudes 4 colors of light and looks very exquisite, like a fine gemstone. The 4-color gems exude a more powerful source of power, which is stronger than the 3 fish pills put together. The key is that the levels are different. Lin Moyu reached out and held the gem. The 4th level origin is not as good as the original fire, but it cannot be compared with the world-class origin. But it is still the 4th level origin, much stronger than the 3rd level. I didn't expect that infinite fusion would have the ability to fuse the origin elements. A bright light suddenly emitted from his eyes, so, as long as I have enough origin, even if the level is low, I can merge into a higher level origin. Then I'm going crazy. Those 7th dash, 8th dash, and even 9th level source crystals don't seem to be that difficult. For the first time, Lin Moyu felt like he was sitting on a treasure mountain. He felt that there was a chance to obtain the extremely rare high-level origin crystals mentioned by Tian Long. Lin Moyu couldn't stop being excited, and even his body began to tremble. His energy and blood surged crazily, making bursts of roar. In the outside world, Tian Long saw Lin Moyu, who was excited and trembling, and said to himself with a hint of disdain, I really have never seen the world. Isn't it just a few fish pills? The master is so excited. You brat, don't think that I don't understand what you're saying. I'm just telling you on purpose. Shirkai, it's really Shirkai, eldest prince, we are going to take revenge. The sins of these years have not been in vain. In the rules world, Lin Moyu is indeed very excited, but not for a 4th order origin, but for future encouragement. After getting excited, he calmed himself down and began to choose the spells that needed to be fused. Now that there is only one source crystal left, you only need to choose a spell, which is much simpler than before. Lin Moyu made his choice without thinking too much. You are the one. With a thought in his heart, the 4th level source crystal flew out and penetrated into a magic white star. Summon the Skeleton King. This is Lin Moyu's choice. If you want to strengthen, choose the sharpest knife. After he advanced half a step to the other side, the Skeleton King's combat power has reached the level of a high-level supreme. Now that the 4th level origin is integrated, the spell will inevitably transform into the origin level, and the Skeleton King will become stronger. Maybe it can be compared to the Pinnacle Supreme. Even if it doesn't work, we must let the Skeleton King reach the limit of high-level supreme. The magic white star shines brightly, illuminating most of the rule world. In the white light, a hint of purple gradually appeared, because the white star was transforming towards the purple star. Purple stars are extremely powerful, stronger than neutron stars, and even stronger than black holes. This level of magic is also called the origin level. Lin Moyu believes that in the history of the world, there must not be many people who possess source-level magic. It is estimated that only those few Tianzuan are qualified to possess it. The magic stars are becoming more powerful, and the original aura is spreading in the world of rules. The real world of the Saint Realm is much more powerful than its original prototype, and the original aura has not been leaked. But it still illuminates part of the soul void. Lin Moyu felt that under the influence of the original aura, the world of rules seemed to be stronger. Even the world tree is absorbing the original aura and swaying happily. Lin Moyu saw that the spirit flower and world tree fruit seemed to have grown a little more. The original power is magical and can promote the growth of world tree. If there is a chance in the future, I will get more origin crystals. This thing is really useful. Lin Moyu thought in his heart, staring at the magic stars without blinking. The purple light became more and more intense, occupying more and more star areas, until the entire magic star completely turned purple, a pure and noble purple without any impurities. The magic purple star slowly rose 380 degrees into the sky, reaching the same height as the resurrection of the dead, and stood side by side. It is second only to the two major original spells, and has become the third echelon of all spells. The strongest one is still infinite fusion, and its status is unshakable. Lin Moyu's soul moved and he obtained the spell information. Summon the Skeleton King. This level summon the Skeleton King by fusing the power of fused skeletons. The minimum required is to fuse 500,000 skeletons, and the maximum can be fused to 50 million skeletons. Summoning the Skeleton Queen will not cause the skeletons to disappear. When the Skeleton King exists, it can enhance the combat power of the other skeletons. The Skeleton King's spells can be shared by other skeletons. The more Skeleton Kings summoned at the same time, the stronger the Skeleton King's combat power will be. After being promoted to the origin level, the magic has indeed undergone fundamental changes. The quantity requirement is only half of the previous one, but Lin Moyu believes that the Skeleton King's combat power will not change, but will only become stronger. In other words, the number of Skeleton Kings he can summon at the same time has doubled, and the Skeleton King's combat power is further apart than before. When the Skeleton King exists, it can enhance the combat power of the other skeletons. Although I don't know how much the increase is, it is a good thing anyway. Moreover, the Skeleton King's spells can be shared by other skeletons. When all skeleton generals can use God Killer. Just thinking about it makes Lin Moyu tremble so hard. This picture is so beautiful. Finally, the more Skeleton Kings summoned at the same time, the stronger the Skeleton King's combat power will be. This ability is also quite abnormal. Giving yourself buffs is a bit too much. Lin Moyu woke up from the excitement, and Tian Long couldn't wait to ask, "How is it? How is the effect?" Lin Moyu said, "It looks good, but I haven't tried it yet." As he spoke, he flicked his fingers, and a ball of flame exploded in the starry sky. In an instant, a powerful aura swept across the starry sky, like a strong wind or a tsunami, crossing the starry sky. In the flames, the skeleton throne appeared, and a 10,000-meter-tall Skeleton King stood up from the throne. It was dressed in exquisite armor, exuding a noble aura, and its cloak rustled while flames rose in the cloak. The throne turned into a sharp sword and appeared among the king's ministers. Skeleton King. Level, High-level Supreme. Spell, Bone-Killing God, Unruly World. Bone Killer, lock the target and attack, attacking the body and soul at the same time. The locked target cannot dodge, nor can it be defended with magic weapons. It can attack multiple targets. When there are less than 10 targets, the damage will not be reduced. It can be combined with other skeletons to form a combined attack, and the power will be further enhanced. Tian Long's dragon scales jingled in the breath. It's almost reached its peak. It's a very powerful technique. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "It's really good." He is also very satisfied with the power of the Skeleton King. He is said to be a high-level supreme, but in fact he is very close to the peak supreme. Now he can summon 50 Skeleton Kings. If he summons all of them, he might be able to reach the peak and supreme level. Tian Long said with a hint of envy, "You are indeed the strongest magician I have ever seen, a half-step supreme guy, and you are only at the same level because of your magic." If an ordinary Supreme encounters you, he will definitely suffer a big loss. Quick, let me see the other 2 spells. With the 3 fish pills, Tian Long believed that Lin Moyu must have integrated 3 spells, and the Skeleton King was just one of them. Lin Moyu shook his head and said, "Only one. I gave 3 fish pills to the same spell." Tian Long stared. "Why do you do this?" Lin Moyu said, "I think that instead of making all 3 spells a little stronger, it is better to make one spell stronger to the extreme. After all, in this battle, the real winner is the top battle AIL." Tian Long hummed, "You are right. Now I feel that the Dojia world is actually quite sad. The world is already so broken. Who would have thought that a pervert like you would appear?" Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Whether it's sad or not, you can only know after fighting. If the people behind Dojia take action, they will trouble you." Tian Long shook his head. "Don't worry, I will definitely do what I promised you." Lin Moyu thought for a while. "Will you get into trouble if you do this?" Tian Long chuckled. "You mean the guy who came last time? He's nothing. If he dares to come, I'll kill him too." "Kill the same people?" Lin Moyu frowned. Tian Long laughed. "It's just talk. If you want to kill him, you can't kill him now, but it's okay to beat him up." Lin Moyu hummed, "Okay, then I'll trouble you." Tian Long said, "You go, I'll sleep again, and it's almost time for a big battle." In the human divine city, in the square in front of the Talisman Master Tower, a powerful aura is rising. Talisman Master Tower is currently closed and no one is allowed to enter. Fu Xingzuan has been sitting here for hundreds of years, and he has been refining runes. Lin Moyu passed all the refining methods of the ancient talisman warriors to Fu Xingzuan, and asked Fu Xingzuan to refine them. Refining ancient talisman warriors is a challenge and a practice for Xingzuan Fu. Over the years, Fu Xingzuan has been refining continuously, and his cultivation level has gradually increased. Lin Moyu has also been here many times and helped Xingzuan Fu solve many of the problems. Now his level of talisman refining has completely surpassed that of Fu Xingzuan. He understands everything that Fu Xingzuan knows, but he may not necessarily understand what Fu Xingzuan knows. Nowadays, it is natural to call Master Lin and Fu Xingzuan. Lin Moyu once wanted to refine the ancient talisman warrior. After all, the ancient talisman warrior has at least the combat power of a high-level supreme, and is an indispensable force when fighting against the fighting world. But now, an ancient talisman warrior is no longer so important. One more ancient talisman warrior and one less ancient talisman warrior is no longer important. So Lin Moyu handed the 12 core ancient talismans to Fu Xingzuan and asked him to refine them. Maybe Fu Xingzuan can use this to reach the sky in one step. Even if he can't become a half-step supreme, he can at least touch the threshold. In Lin Moyu's vision, although the foundations of these saints in the human race are not solid enough, they are all geniuses. If a new divine road is built in the future, they will all be qualified to step on it and become supreme. On the contrary, Xing Lao and Human Emperor are more troublesome. Their way of existence is too special, and it is not easy to make them supreme. Fu Xingzuan has been refining here for hundreds of years, and finally reached the final step. He combined the runes one by one, and all the materials in the human warehouse were at his disposal. Lin Moyu also passed on several important ancient space talismans to Fu Xingzuan. With 12 fifth-level core ancient talismans as the center, coupled with a large number of second-level ancient talismans and countless materials, an ancient talisman warrior finally slowly took shape. At the moment when the ancient talisman warrior was completely formed, the aura of the supreme realm spread in the divine city, sweeping like a storm. Countless formations in the divine city are running wildly, trying to block the supreme aura. The ancient talisman warrior is 1,000 meters tall and possesses supreme-level combat power. Holy Fu Xingzuan is only a holy lord, and his level cannot be compared with that of Holy Fu Xingzuan back then. Moreover, the ancient talisman he used was only a second-level ancient talisman, and the various materials were not comparable, and the talisman war could reach the supreme combat power, which was already very strong. Fu Xingzuan stood in front of the ancient Fu warrior, bearing the supreme pressure head-on without changing his expression. There was excitement in his eyes, and his whole body was trembling slightly. Although he followed the path of his predecessors, he learned too much during the refining process. His rune level has improved a lot, and his realm has also improved a bit. He felt that he had indeed reached the threshold of half-step supreme. If given enough time, it would indeed be possible to be promoted to half-step supreme. And all of this was brought about by the ancient talisman warrior in front of him, and also by Lin Moyu. Bang! 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 There was a sound of clapping, and Xingzuan Fu turned his head and saw Lin Moyu. He immediately saluted respectfully. "I've met Master Lin." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "It is indeed perfect. Fu Xingzuan's talent and persistence in the runes are really amazing." Fu Xingzuan was very humble. "Wang Hao, Master Lin taught me well. Compared with Master Lin, I am nothing." Lin Moyu shook his head. "Tarun, in addition to talent, you also need persistence. In terms of persistence, looking at the big world, no one can compare with you." Fu Xingzuan was not polite, and pulled Lin Moyu and said, "Master Lin, let's see how this ancient Fu warrior is doing." Lin Moyu said, "I just watched it, and it's very good. When you become the Supreme one day, you can use 3rd order or 4th order ancient talismans to transform it. I think it won't be a problem for it to return to its ancient glory." Xingzuan Fu snorted lightly. "I think so too. I don't need to study anything else. This ancient talisman war alone is enough for me to study for a lifetime." This is indeed the case. The ancient talisman warrior was created by the holy talisman Heavenly Lord throughout his life. No matter the structural design or the runes used, they are extremely particular. Especially the 12 core ancient talismans are worthy of lifelong study by Fu Xingzuan. Lin Moyu also knows that the talent of Saint Fu Xingzuan is not as good as that of Saint Fu Tianzuan. There is really no need to study other things. It is enough to just study the ancient talisman. There are still less than 30 years before the arrival of the Dojie. 30 years in the big world is just one day in the boundary sea. Soon the two worlds will collide. At this time, the two worlds are very close. Lin Moyu came to the edge of the big world for the last time. Standing here, he seemed to be able to feel the breath of the Dojie. Tianqingzhen finally took the last step, and Tianqing reached the halfway point of supremeness. He didn't even have time to stabilize his own realm before he immediately started a fugue. This secret method has been handed down from ancient times and has brought a lot of information to the human race. Perhaps in ancient times, wandering was also a way for human race striders to find other worlds. It's a pity that Tianqingzhen's fugue failed this time. He felt that his consciousness had left the big world, but he did not enter the fighting world. Instead, he wandered around in the void and then returned. However, Tianqingzhen said that when he was wandering in the void, he seemed to see a person. It's just that the time was too short and the induction was too nihilistic, so he wasn't sure if he was right. Lin Moyu felt that Tianqingzhen must have read correctly. The person he saw might be the existence behind Dojie. At the last moment, Lin Moyu went to Tian Long again to ask him to wake up and stop sleeping. At the same time, he told Munaner that according to the agreement, Munaner would come with Soul City. 390. There is no trace of the 100 Battles Supreme yet. The Red Star Supreme said not to worry, the 100 Wars Supreme will come naturally. 10,000 star formations have been deployed, and the human star field is firmly protected. Suzaku, Xuanwu, and White Tiger, the three original divine beasts, did not appear, but Lin Moyu believed that they would not be absent. In the Tian Long battlefield, a powerful aura is reviving, and Tian Long is about to wake up. The Human Emperor Network announced the upcoming news of the Dojie, but it was only limited to those above the gods. All the gods obeyed the orders of the Human Emperor and formed an army. This is a war more dangerous than the war of hundreds of tribes. Once lost, the entire world will be destroyed. In the last 10 years, Lin Moyu didn't go anywhere and stayed at home with Yu Zhu and Yu Qingru. His soul accompanies the 4 sleeping wives. His soul has been leaning on the sleeping coffin. It seems that he can feel his wife's breath against the sleeping coffin. The big world also seems to be preparing for the coming of war. Many people with keen souls can already feel that the atmosphere of the big world has become different. The origin of the big world begins to become active, and the origin is recovering. The big world has made all preparations and is ready to face this war. The moment the 2 worlds came into contact, Lin Moyu suddenly said softly, "Here we come." Yuju and Yu Qingru said in unison, "Husband, be careful." Lin Moyu smiled slightly, "Don't worry." The door to space opened, and silent language left the divine realm. The 2 worlds collided, starting from the very edge. Waves of vibrations were transmitted from the edge of the world to the interior of the world at a speed far exceeding the speed of light. The vibrations quickly swept across millions of light years and became more and more intense. After the 2 worlds collided, there was no earth-shattering movement, but a fusion. The rules and powers of the 2 worlds are merging, becoming you among me, and me among you. The laws and power systems in the Do realm begin to appear in the big world. Those strong men in the Do realm can also exert their full power in the big world. Tian Long had completely woken up and said in a low voice, "It's really a desperate effort to fight to the death." The door to space suddenly appeared, and Lin Moyu flew out with a serious look on his face. The fighting world has merged in. Tian Long chuckled, "Yes, this time it's not just about the winner, it's really about life and death, and the winner is surrounded by everyone." There are 2 ways for worlds to collide. Some worlds collide in a physical sense and will not merge. The strong men in both worlds will attack each other. If there is no winner in the end, the 2 worlds can still be separated. In this method, both sides have a way out. But now with this mutual integration method, both sides have no way out. Once the world begins to merge and form a pattern in which you are among me and you are among me, it means that only one of the 2 parties can survive. If in the heyday of the big world has the absolute initiative, how to collide depends entirely on the will of the world. But now, the big world has no choice. In order to prevent the great world from escaping, Dojie resolutely chose the method of fusion. It made up its mind to devour the great world and allow itself to break through. Bej, in fact, this is what Lin Moyu wants, because the world only has this glimmer of hope. If Dojie wants to escape, he really has nothing to do against Dojie. Right now, both sides have no escape route, and only one side can survive. Tian Long said, "Where do you plan to place the battlefield?" Lin Moyu opened the star map and selected a location. He had already decided on this location, which was outside the territory and exactly 1 million light years away from the border. The battle cannot affect the territory, let alone the human race. This battle will be resolved outside the territory. Tian Long chuckled and said, "They are not wood, they can't be anywhere you want." Lin Moyu said, "After the 2 worlds merge, they will move out. They will not take a long way around, they will definitely go straight to the core of the world. I have arrangements in this area, so the plaques won't be too different. If my calculations are correct, the battlefield will be here." Lin Moyu has thought about this problem for a long time. According to the information obtained by Tianqingzhen, the human emperor will basically not make mistakes when analyzing the combat mode of the Dojie. Tian Long asked, "Have you thought about how to fight?" Lin Moyu said, "Don't think about it, there is no strategy this time, it is purely a showdown of strength. If I lose, it means the world loses. Before the battle, I am shamelessly asking you to do something." Tian Long chuckled, "You are already thinking about losing before you fight. This is not a good thing." Lin Moyu shook his head, "I just thought more carefully." Tian Long said, "If you have anything to say, just say it. After all, the dead are the most important. I will definitely agree to what I can promise you." He also spoke without any inhibitions, seeming to be joking and yet serious. Lin Moyu said, "If I lose, I have a sleeping coffin here with my 4 wives and my current 2 wives. Please take them away." Tian Long stared at Lin Moyu. "You said, you have 6 wives?" Lin Moyu nodded slightly. He never told Tian Long that he had a wife, and Tian Long never asked. He looked at Tian Long. Is that okay? I'll use the 10 color dragon soul crystals as reward. Tian Long was so fierce that he let out a roar. Why, you have so many wives, but I don't even have a female dragon. There were bursts of dragon chants, and Tian Long was very excited. Lin Moyu also didn't expect that Tian Long would pay attention to this point. He asked, don't change the subject, okay? Tian Long said, the 10-colored dragon soul crystal is of no use to me, and you may not die. You have boundaries, so if you want to escape, it will be difficult for others to stop you. Lin Moyu said, I will not escape until the end, and I am just in case. Tian Long said, it's your wife, not my wife, I won't help. Having said that, his tone has completely changed. Lin Moyu has known Tian Long for many years and knows this guy's temperament, so he doesn't talk nonsense to him, just leave, but this kind of thing usually doesn't happen, I'm just in case. We proceed as planned and hope to win. Tian Long chuckled, don't worry, the Scourge will live for hundreds of millions of years. You, the Scourge, will not die. I have a feeling that those guys in the fighting world are going to be in trouble.